You just like that little popper thing in the middle.
That was sorry.
Which game?
Trouble.
Oh, Trouble? Yeah, a little Trouble. You're sorry. Which we loved playing that game, but as soon as we got bored with it, it became the main game we'd go look for. When we were looking for extra tokens, because the little sorry pieces were perfect for monsters and stuff on the game board.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Because they're the perfect size for it, because they use this size square.
Yes.
Then you know, in playing life, you always lost the babies.
I would declare bankruptcy and turn in the kids.
Oh, the favorite game I think I bought at one of the cons was Redneck Life. Have you ever played that? Where the winner has the most teeth at the end?
That's funny.
Yeah, you lose teeth.
It's even funnier with you paying it.
It was just when I started losing them too.
You get a divorce and you sleep with your lawyer. You know that kind of
to get away from the pay. Oh, it makes you actually have to get divorced so that you can marry your stepbrother Bubba and have 5 more kids and live in a trailer.
So it's redneck version of life.
Yes, but then they would force you to buy cars. So like the cheap car had the fewest seats, and the bigger car could hold more kids. Oh my god, that's funny.
There's one point you literally had to buy a bus.
You roll like 2d6 and find out how many Bubbas you have.
Oh, and one of the cards was get caught by CPS, lose 3 kids.
That's horrible.
It's all
like a biography than it does a game.
Well, it's life.
Oh my god. Oh, that is great.
Yeah, that was bad.
That is awesome.
So I'm thinking if we decide to have a game night, I need to find that in somewhere in our stuff because it was epic.
Oh, that's great. That is so awesome. Oh.
Is there a Wizarding World role-playing game?
There is.
What's it called?
Harry Potter role-playing.
Kids on Bikes. There's an actual game kind of based on the whole Harry Potter thing. I think it's called Kids on Bikes. Yeah.
I was wondering if there's anything for the license.
Oh,
There's a
bigger thing.
There's a phone version.
Well,
of it, I guess.
if you go to Demiplane, they have what's called 5e core rule set. So they've broken it down to where it's just the core rule set. A lot of people are using that as a way to play all themes.
Oh.
So like Star Wars 5e has gotten really popular right now. I've been toying with the idea of Star Trek 5e.
Which generation?
Good question. I don't know yet.
Is it the first one, the last one, or the
Not Enterprise?
Honestly,
No.
I kind of want to base it on Lower Decks. It's because it's way in the future.
The sub-generations.
It's all way in the future beyond Voyager.
Yeah, we're not.
But
core.
But the whole system
the
whole game would be based on all the ship jobs. So
kind of like Paranoia.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what Lower Decks is all about. So the show Lower Decks is all about how the entire animated show is nothing about the crew that does all the ship jobs.
That's all the underclassmen, basically.
Oh man,
they work in the lower decks. You know, there's the main bridge,
right,
and all the lower decks below it. And
I got holodeck.
The ones below the red shirt.
And like all the traditional, you know, like captain and first officer, they're all dicks. They're all just complete asshole dicks. I love it. Absolutely love it.
And the
I
cat.
think there was like a Black Mirror episode like that where they had
Yes, where the guy was
Yes.
a captain.
Yeah, in fact, that's a parody on a lot of YouTube channels
Uh-huh.
where a lot of people took that episode and create a parody
Yeah.
video. It's actually pretty funny. I like watching it.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty good.
Hero system will work good for that.
On what the students.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. They're pretty cool.
Where it's basically this guy lives in VR and he somehow he's able to transport people from real life and he tracks them in VR.
Oh, sounds like a.
Play because
Hey, everybody, we're live.
there are certain people who
For some
live
reason, my
really
camera-
powerful
Weird little
lives,
though.
Which
I
one?
don't know where it's
and
from. Oh, well,
their
this one.
deviation is being
This camera that I
dominated.
just swapped out.
They need that.
I'll
Yeah.
have to figure out why it's
Somebody
doing
else
that
needs
later.
control.
exactly because
Yeah.
Oh my god. We're here. We're gonna do Daggerheart. today. Finally.
We're going to
Finally.
to do-
Well, we're gonna build characters. Building character creates character.
that works.
I
Literally.
think literally and figuratively, I think, is always a good way
You always
of
learn a
looking
little
at it.
bit more about yourself. being prepared.
I am going
Especially
to
when you're not used
reset
to
my camera
creating characters.
really quick. See if that'll fix the lines. Knowing me, it'll probably destroy everything, but that's okay.
Nuclear launch codes accepted.
Codes are accepted. Yeah, for some reason that new video camera, or not new, the one I swapped out, is not working well. I'll have to.
Bitch.
No, it's leaving lines on the video for some reason. Yeah,
Put
not
up
sure why.
Is it because it's I see the
Could have what?
brought some jelly.
Oh yeah,
Could
could
have jammed
be.
the system.
Could be. I just need to fix the
As long as
setting.
it's not
So,
raspberry.
Could be. Oh, that's going to be your snacks for tonight. Go at dinner tonight later on.
Dude, I lost weight. At the war, I went to put my gams on. I
Yeah.
usually put it on freaking tight so
Yeah.
I get the back support. And it,
Well,
it
when
was
you
like,
don't eat a lot of junk food and stuff, yeah,
Yeah.
you'll lose a little bit of weight.
it kind of happens. So I'm happy about that.
There's a lot of heat in the neck.
You lose a lot of heat in the neck. So we had staticky audio last week.
We have to
You wanna
check it out.
you pop it on and see how we're sounding tonight. So I figured tonight would be a good night to build characters, do some mechanics questions, take a look at the core mechanics for Daggerheart, and also some sound tests, and oddly enough, a camera test. Camera test so far has failed. So we'll have to we'll tackle that camera another day.
It's all bow.
No,
I
no,
have to go back to the electronic
Ooh, I want to keep that one.
rude, rude,
report and double take test.
No.
66.
Rude.
rude,
Rude.
rude,
An ad-
rude.
That's why I was horrible at Spanish.
Rudius with the accent.
Oh, critical. Critical ocho. Critical ocho.
What is up with my keyboard today? Wonder if my
All right, so we need B12.
All right, so actually, no, we do not need the dice right now. We are going to.
I like my shiny math rock.
I know you can use them eventually. Just right now, we don't need to. Create some space in front of you. We have.
Hello, what's up? Hi. How you doing?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Randy, pass over?
No
I
static.
don't know. No,
Yeah, I barely heard you.
I got a deep voice though. So.
Lower upper.
He also speaks
But no
really,
static
really
or
slow.
anything.
I can hear Mickey Mouse.
What are you saying? I gotta
Well,
talk about this all day.
You're also not in a line with your microphone. You're too
No,
far
I'm
that
like-
way. So, Scarlett, you gotta come closer towards Carolyn. Carolyn, you're fine.
Okay.
There you go.
Was that better? She's not
Probably.
listening.
I'm not. Sorry, I'm subscribing to my channel.
Ooh.
Oh, thanks, honey.
All right.
Anybody out there with Amazon Prime and you want to help a poor person out, please subscribe with Amazon Prime. It helps.
Yes.
Because you know what? Fuck Elon. Sorry, wrong corporate oligarch. Fuck Bezos. That was the other one I meant.
Eat it. Eat 'em.
Other one.
Eat them. Eat the rich.
He's got a whole list.
So we have packets. Now,
Okay.
because it's an open beta, I really do want to try to participate in the survey. So far, I've read the whole set of rules twice. And I'm beginning to reorganize and try to condense the parts that I think are going to be fun for us. Obviously, watching the YouTube videos that Critical Role put out would be helpful. But I don't want to duplicate class types. I want to kind of make sure we each pick an individual class. So we have for our first choice. Ooh, I don't want to read that.
I
one
can't
as
be
the
a
first
character
choice.
with no class.
No, you're already a human with no class, so no, you can't.
I'm a grumpy old man, so what do you know?
What do you know, Joe?
You could be a character with no class. I mean,
So-
I replace one all the time.
Without knowing any specific details, we have the following. We have a wizard. Is anyone interested in being a wizard? So we have a wizard. Our other one that we have
Well,
is...
we know how wizards are treating me this time around.
I know, right? We also have warrior. For anyone interested in being a warrior.
What's your fault for going off by yourself?
That's kind of true. You make bad choices.
I make
Yes.
really bad choices.
Really bad choices. We have a sorcerer,
What was the second one again?
Warrior.
warrior.
Warrior. Okay. Wizard, warrior.
Wizard, warrior,
Sorcerer.
sorcerer.
We have a rogue,
The Rouge.
a rouge, depending on your pronunciation of words. We also have a seraph,
Which is their cleric.
which is their cleric,
Okay. Angel,
licensing
cleric.
issues.
It's a holy person that helps you.
Yeah, cleric, but it's called a seraph. Ranger. We also have a guardian.
Which is the guardian? What's it?
Paladin.
What's the guardian like?
Tank.
Free to find
Is it a
out.
tank?
Bit like a tank. Yeah, the warrior's more of a DPS. Guardian. No, warrior's a tank.
Warrior's
Guardian's a
tank,
bit more of a
Guardian's
DPS fluid support class.
Yeah, blocking and shit.
Yeah. But tank and DPS have different roles now in this new system they built. Druid. You do have the druid. If anyone
Druid.
is inclined to go
Cleric,
Druidia.
ranger.
I am a Druish princess from Druidia.
Do I want a druid, a cleric, or
And a bard. So we have wizard, warrior, seraph, sorcerer, bard, druid. We have rogue and guardian.
Let's try the ranger.
You know what the and we have a ranger. Is that the last one I just said?
No, you're
Yeah, but
Like
third
the
one
second or third one from the end.
Was it?
What's
The other
That's a druid.
probably
That one?
no. That says Sarah.
Should be round, but that's the fair. It's the only one that doesn't have a finger on it.
There it is. Oh my god, the names were on the cover sheet. I was like, where I can't see there. Oh, they're on the cover sheet. I'm an idiot. Oh, hey, Iberg, how are you? Okay. So we have Seraph, Guardian, Rogue, Sorcerer, Wizard, Warrior, Bard, and Druid.
I always choose last, guys. I choose last.
Technically, Ivar will choose last when he comes back
I know.
next week.
Right. So you gonna?
No. There are 3 other people that need to choose. See, here's the thing. I like choosing different.
I think you should be a bard. Actually, I think
I'm not
you should be a
musically
I
inclined.
do think about that.
I'm thinking maybe I want to lean towards a wizard, something different.
Okay.
Playing the barbarian is like great as a tank, but I wasn't doing damage to anything. I was just running out there and being the meat shield.
But that's a good job.
Well, it was
You
a
did a
net.
good job.
I kind of based.
Really
I
good job.
I picked that because everybody else in the party was a magic user of some sort.
What do you want to be?
So does like does
the
the druid have to have like a familiar or a pad or something? Because that's what we should make Ivar. Except today he's got to have a pad.
I'll try a druid.
Maybe get him like make him a ogre. And we'll call him Shrek. I'll have like a pet donkey familiar.
Don't be a donkey. Get a donkey.
Where's the druid? Or did you already do it?
Did you grab the wizard? I think it's the second packet there. Oh, it's the first one.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're falling apart.
So what are you?
You picked a
Wizard.
ranger.
Wizard?
Ranger, wizard, and druid.
there's a sorcerer and a
Do you want
seraphim.
to be a bard? Or a guardian? Or a warrior? Or a seraph? You want to be a cleric?
Let's see if I might have fixed it. Maybe not.
Seraph? 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 Seraph?
Maybe.
Seraph? Seraph?
Well, I was trying to get rid of the square lines, and it's not. So 3 miles. How are you? Okay. Who?
Alright, heavy bard.
The Bard? Nice. Bard's actually a different class in this game. What are you going with, homie? You got Guardian, Seraph, Rogue, Sorcerer, and Warrior. There are little tiny microscopic lines streaking across the new camera frame, and I don't know why it's doing it. I'll have to
So we
look at
got
it tomorrow.
a phone that's in
Probably no. It's a setting because I've been swapping out cameras.
Alright.
Oh,
I
I
had
see
it.
it. Okay.
It's very subtle. It's hard
Yeah.
to see.
But when you see it,
Um,
you can't unsee it.
Yes.
Well, I had to. It had to wait until he like shipped it back and forth, and then it's. Oh,
Yeah. You look at those race of creatures that have, from Marvel. They're made from rocks. Like you got waffle face. So, what are you going with, Bill? You're last. Well, technically, Ivar will be last. You want to go to Seraph?
Or you want to be a rouge?
I don't want to be a rouge.
You want to be a rouge?
Oh, I do want to be a rouge.
You want to be a rouge?
Want to go Rogue? All right. See, because Ivar decided to miss tonight, he only gets a choice of 1 of 4 now. So, the Sorcerer is left.
I really hope he picks Sarah.
Me too, or else you guys will just all die.
Oh, I knew it.
The druid can't heal at all.
I don't know.
Yes.
I haven't played the game yet.
Yes.
So,
Well, they can, but only
there's a couple
plants.
cool things they do here. So they have a character creation list that we go through step 1 through 14. And this 14-step process helps us create characters. And I think it's a good way to go because at the same time, it helps us talk about mechanics as well. Iberg goes, he didn't even knows the lines until I said something.
Is Ivar watching us?
No, Iberg.
Oh.
One of my regular players.
Ivar.
Oh, Amber.
So the nice thing I think I love most about this character creation list is that as we go each step, it offers me an opportunity to talk about details within the step and how it relates to the mechanics of the game. The core mechanic of the game is a D12, and you have 2 of them. One represents hope, one represents fear. As you are presented with opportunities of narration, like in Candela or in D&D, where I'm describing something and you want to beat the challenge of whatever challenge is there, sometimes it won't even require a roll, right? It's narrative. It could just be simple enough that it's not challenging, therefore we won't make a roll. But whenever you do make a roll to beat the DC that I have already kind of built either in my head through my sliding scale or something that I've applied to like a riddle, a puzzle, or whatever little bit of content, I will ask you to roll your duality dice. Now, you roll your 2d12s to declare which one's hope, which one's fear. If you win with hope, then you get a hope token and you add it to your hope pool. If you win with fear, I get a fear token, which becomes currency for me to use throughout the game. But you still win, but there's a slight negative outcome from the win. If you lose with hope, you still get a hope, but you lose. You don't get what you want, and there's a negative outcome. If you lose with fear, I gain a fear, and the loss is extreme, right? Because that's the worst roll you can do. You lose, and the fear die is the higher of the 2 die. Does that make sense so far?
My favorite part is if you roll doubles, you win.
Well, we'll get there in a minute. So, for example, let's say you're leaping from one roof to another roof.
I'm gonna try.
You're leaping. Hold on before you roll. Okay. Let's say you have a +2 for agility, so modifiers still matter.
Okay.
So say you have a +2 for agility, and let's say what class did you go with? Druid. Let's say you have a special experience called Lighter Than Air, so that every time you do a severe jump,
Cat-like grace.
or Cat-like Grace, right? So you get a +2 for that as well. So your modifiers give you a +4. However, you're being chased, you're under stress, and the width is pretty challenging. So I'm going to say the DC is an 18.
Ow.
So you roll the 2d12 and add the +4.
Okay, but it's an 18. Even if I roll a 12 plus 4, I'm gonna hit a 16.
No, because you're adding the 2 together.
You add both dice together.
So you have a chance of 24 is the max.
All right.
So 12 would be
No, I
like
keep forgetting you add the dice
50%
together.
chance.
All right, I'm gonna try. An 8 and 4.
Well, before you, so which is your fear die?
Green.
Green one. Okay.
Purple.
So 8 and a 4 is a 12, right? +4 is a 16.
Yeah.
So you fail.
Right.
And you
But I got
fail
hope.
with hope,
Yeah.
which means you don't get quite everything you want.
Right.
You get a hope token to add to your pool,
Uh-huh.
which can max out. So it's not like you keep gaining hope, just like I don't keep gaining fear, right? There's a maximum amount of hope and a maximum amount of fear.
Now to use my
Is that
experience-
variable depending on the character?
To use my
Yes, there's
Okay.
it's a variable to level and variable.
To
No, we all start off with equal hope. You guys all start off with an equal hope
Okay.
pool. But as you go up in levels, character abilities through your cards, through your foundation, through your subclass, and your domain could influence your hope and how that hope is used
No.
or gained or lost.
okay.
under hope it says spend hope to use an experience or help an ally.
Right. I was just trying to create a modifier example.
Right, but would I have to spend hope to use that
Correct.
modifier for
Correct.
to get
Yes.
the hope?
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
good example also of how you spend hope.
Okay.
So that's just a quick, had you rolled, so
But I
because you,
fall to my death.
but you, well, no, it's not that extreme, right? Because you lost with hope. So you would take a hope token as long as you're able to take a hope token. I would describe a negative consequence because you didn't get quite what you wanted. So I
Yeah,
might
trick on my
say,
tail.
as you make your leap, you slam onto the edge of the roof and hold onto the edge and bang yourself into the side of the wall. Take a stress.
Okay.
And then you would take a stress.
And then you gain a new skill, spastic spider movement.
Spastic spider Qatari. Because I already know you're going to make a Qatari.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Always with the cats. Always with the cats.
All are we using the gems as our root token?
It's up to you. You can actually use whatever you want for any of your tokens. You want to use coins, markers, gems. We just brought some just to kind of show as an example of different things. Like I'm using cobblestone, river stones as my fear
I found him
tokens.
some rocks.
So, but I'm also limited to how much fear I can have as well,
I
right?
could use dice.
But I can use fear as a currency in the game. If you're in a like let's say that same situation, she's jumping over, I could spend 2 fear and give you disadvantage, which means you'll roll a d6 and minus that from your roll. That is a way I can introduce the tension of the moment that even though, she looks like she should be able to make it, I'll say, yeah, but people are shooting arrows at you. It's advantage. And I spend 2 fear to introduce that into the dynamic.
It's fun. Makes it a bit of a game for the DM.
Well, it allows me to have more available tools of action economy that influence your action economy. So yeah, it is pretty cool. I like that part about it.
Yeah, it makes
So-
strategic for you instead of just letting you get to play too.
So with that in mind, the very first thing we do is we choose a class. Your class represents what kind of character you'll be playing and will give you access to certain abilities and spells during the game. So you all picked your character class. The next thing we do is we pick what's called our subclass or our foundation. So if you go to page...
You don't have page number.
You go
I'm sorry,
to
what page?
the very first page of cards. Very first page of leveled cards, level 1. So it would look something like this. It'll look like that, and you'll notice that you have foundation at the bottom of it. Those are your subclasses. So, for example, a seraph can be either a winged sentinel or a divine wielder. This represents like your specialty, your specialization, what your foundational, what your subclass is to like a D&D equivalent.
It's one of the
One or the other, yes. So what are your choices that you get, Callista, for your foundation?
You say spells. Oh, the foundation's just the 2 at the bottom?
Correct.
And then I have to pick one or the other?
Yes. So read both of them.
Organ of the Elements. Spellcast Instinct. Elemental Incarnation. Mark a stress to embody an elemental spirit from the list below. Lasting for up to 1 hour or until you use this ability again.
Nice. I love it.
This ability can be used during and overlap with Beast Form. Oh, I get a Beast Form?
Yes.
I'm already a cat. I get a Beast Form. It's like a double fun.
I'm imagining. I'm imagining your other character, the snow cat, turning into your from the like beast war. Just stick that like
2 cats running around.
Okay, so it says fire. When an enemy in melee range deals damage to you, they take 1d8 magical damage. Earth, you gain a plus 2 armor score. Water, you have an advantage on agility rolls and can breathe underwater. And 2, air, you gain plus 2 evasion.
Nice.
It's elemental incarnation. Depends on which element I pick.
Now, chances are, when the full release, there could be more foundational offerings, but I think what they're essentially doing with the open beta is trying to, test subclass ideas and what subclasses mean. So,
And the second one,
yeah. So read the second one.
Warden of Renewal. Clarity of nature. Once per long rest, you may create a space of natural serenity around you. After spending a few minutes resting within space, you can clear stress equal to your instinct trait, distributed as you
Oh,
choose
shit.
between you and your ally.
We just missed the Falcon 9 piggy launch.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
bummer.
Registration, regeneration. Regeneration,
Has to be
Touch a
registered
creature.
in
Touch
the
your-
central database.
touch a creature and spend
Password must
3
have.
hope to heal 1d4 of their hit points. So I have to spend 3 hope to heal one person for 1d4 of their hit points.
That's actually pretty good. So you
Yeah.
can see one path is nature, kind of. The other path is more like healing. Or so there's the animal friendship subclass, and then there's the healing subclass.
Right.
So those are your two choices. You are rogue. Bill, read your two choices really quick.
My foundations:
Yes.
Syndicate, Foundation, Spellcast Finesse. When you arrive in a heavily populated town or city, you know somebody that calls this place home. Give them a name, note how you think they could be useful, and choose one from the list below. They owe me a favor, but they will be hard to find. They're going to ask for something in exchange. They're always in a great deal of trouble. We used to be together. It's a long story. We didn't part on great terms.
Awesome. What's the other one?
The other one is Nightwalker, Spell Finesse, Shadow Stepper. You can move from shadow to shadow. When you step into the shadow cast by another person or object or an area of darkness, mark a stress to disappear from where you are and then reappear inside of any other shadow you can see within far range.
That's pretty cool.
That's
Yeah,
pretty cool. That's at level 1
Yeah,
as
that's
a
pretty.
subclass.
That's pretty
And
good.
it's marked by your stress.
Correct.
Yeah, you have to take a stress.
Yeah.
You have to take a damage to do it.
And we'll talk a little bit about stress. It can be.
It is.
If your stress bar is full and then you incur stress while your stress bar is full, then it becomes 1 hit point of damage.
Now, if it becomes 1 hit point of damage, does that empty the stress bar?
No, I do not think so. I think
Oh,
you have to
that's-
you have to rest
Okay.
and get your stress bar cleared out. And we'll talk about short rest versus long rest, the different mechanics that are involved with that.
Okay.
So, Shiloh, your two subclasses.
The School of Knowledge, Spellcast Knowledge. You've gained priceless knowledge through great study. Whenever you make a knowledge roll to recall information, you have advantage. If this roll is about the magical nature of a creature or enchantment, your advantage for the die roll is 1d8. Adept. You may mark a stress instead of spending a hope to use an experience on a roll.
That's pretty cool.
If you do, double the experience modifier when you add it.
Oh wow, that's huge.
That sounds pretty powerful. And then
The only challenge is a created experience, which we'll talk about what it means to create an experience. So since it's important to that subclass. So as your character is being developed today, when we get to the point where we create an experience, you create a custom experience of +2 and +1 at level 1. So as your character becomes fully fleshed out, maybe you decide you're a smooth talker. So whenever you're in a specific situation where you're trying to influence people, you then take that experience and use it. You would then spend stress to use it, but it'll give you double the modifier, right? The +1 experience you would create maybe is, I've got deep pockets. So maybe that experience, as you customize it for yourself, means something else. But if you spend stress, your +1 becomes +2. So on your character sheet where it says experience on the main character sheet, it's empty for a reason. Because when we get to that point of the creation, you literally make a custom experience that's like wholly for unique or rare situations. But it needs to be defined well enough that it still doesn't account like
can't
be tall
vague,
guy.
so that you could use it everywhere.
Yeah, it's not really designed or meant to be used every time. It's designed to give you a very, very creative way of creating something unique to your character build that would make sense to the way they're built. And it can tie into a backstory too. Like it can be influenced by your backstory.
Mhm.
What's your other foundation? What's your other subclass?
School of War. You focused your studies on the shaping of magic in both dangerous and powerful ways. Take an extra armor slot immediately. When you make a successful attack roll with fear, you deal an extra 1d6 magic damage.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of, they're both sound very tempting.
All right, read yours, Carla.
Okay. First one is Wayfinder. The spellcast is Agility. Apex Predator. Mark a stress to increase your proficiency by +1 when rolling damage. When you deal damage to the enemy, you can never hit below their minor threshold.
Nice.
Path forward. When you're headed for a place you previously visited, or you carry an object with you that has been there before, you can identify the shortest, most direct path to your destination.
Love it.
The
What's your other one?
Beastbound. You have an animal companion of your choice at GM's discretion.
Yeah.
Take the Ranger companion sheet whenever you level up your character. You also choose a level up option for your companion from this sheet.
See, that's interesting. So those two foundations, those two subclasses, once again, allow you to pick paths. One path is more combat nature, and the other path is more bound to the idea of the companion, having the companion. I love that. All right, Carolyn, what are your two choices?
As far I can Swordsmith, Troubadour. Swordsmith is a spellcasted cartridge. It has the ability of the heart of a poet. When speaking to a person you're trying to impress, persuade, or offend, you use at least 3 rhyming words like sheen, ring, ding.
Whatever, yeah.
Ring, ding, ding. Ring, ding, ding. And hope, and spend a hope to add 1d4 to the action roll against them.
Oh, wow. That's pretty good. So once again, it's the face of the party.
Basically, I can make them bad at losing.
Maybe.
Rousing speech. Once per long rest, not short rest, you can give a heartfelt, inspiring speech. All allies appeared can clear a stress.
Nice.
And then there's the Troubadour. When you select this foundation, describe a unique instrument you carry and add it to your inventory. You may perform each song once per long rest. When you play a relaxing song during a moment of calm, you can close ally heal 1 point. So 1 hit. Any close allies. So basically, I could sing a song in the group and everybody close during the long.
Wow, that's actually pretty good.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
When you play an epic song during battle, make a target temporarily vulnerable, which I don't know what that means. Is it disadvantage?
It depends on the definition of vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
I believe disadvantage could be one of the outcomes. But I think there's a vulnerable rule that I'll have to review to or refer to.
When you play the heartbreaking song at any time, you can close allies. Any close ally can take a hope.
What?
Secret plan.
It's an ability.
What level?
It's up there. yeah.
Level 5. Read it. I want to hear.
Once per long rest, you may explain how you secretly had preparation in place for the kind of situation you're in.
I love it.
Describe what it is. The GM will tell you how much stress you need to mark for it.
That's
1
awesome.
stress for something reasonable. 2 stress for something reasonable but complex. 4 stress for something difficult and complex.
Nice. That's
Like
cool.
Like we're against a
That's a-
Gorgon.
Yeah.
I had a mirror right here just in case.
I love that.
That's-
That is awesome.
That's fun.
Mark 25 stress. So, everybody pick your subclass. Okay.
It's so hard to choose.
It's so hard to
The hardest part about choosing, and especially in this early of the game, is
Not
we're not
me.
sure how it's going to play out.
That's the point.
Yeah, I understand. But that doesn't mean it's any less stressful for me. I'm so stressed.
All right. Because I don't know if we're going to have a seraph or not, I'm going to pick Word of Renewal.
Okay, that's fair. And at some point later, you can cut out all your cards because that way you only have to worry about maintaining your cards that you cut out and not have to keep all the sheets of paper.
And that goes into subclass.
Yes. So on your character sheets, there is a subclass box at the very top.
Shouldn't we do race first?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Subclass first.
Okay. Oh, you're following rules.
Yeah. Well, I'm not following the rules,
Yeah.
but if you create it the way that they've been demoing it, it kind of makes sense.
Okay.
It kind of makes sense. So now you get to choose your heritage. Your heritage is made up of ancestry and community. So if you go to that very, very first page of all the cards, right after play guide, you'll see 2 pages of ancestry. And here are some choices we'll go through really quick. You can be a clank, which is basically their version of a warforged or automaton. You can be I like to pronounce it ribbit, but everyone else pronounces it ribbit, which is a frog-like humanoid, an
Yeah,
amorphous.
Ribbet.
Ribbet. Ooh, I like that. There's
He's
Galeman.
French.
There's dwarf, giant, elf, human, orc, halfling,
It would be Daemon.
Dracona, which is their dragonborn, Qatari, which is far more human-faced looking than a traditional tabaxi. So I think they based their Qatari a bit more on a Skyrim-esque,
Cosplayers.
and maybe even closer
That's
to
a
cosplay,
Thundercat. What are you talking
Anime.
about? That's a
Now,
Thundercat.
yeah, maybe a little anime too. Yeah. So fairy is interesting. Fairy can be anything. It can be an insect, a pixie. It can be anything that you want that you feel represents the visualization of the ancestry of fairy. There's no definitive. There's no like Shadowfell, Fae, like definition of a fairy. It can be whatever you want. There's fawn, Galapa, which is the turtle in the game, goblin, fungrel, which is a amorphous humanoid fungus choice. There's furbog and simia. I really like simia so far.
I was actually thinking about doing Simia.
Yeah, it's
What
a
is
cool
simia?
one. Simia is
It's a
ape-like.
monkey.
It's a monkey-like human.
Ah.
Anthropomorphic monkeys
Yep.
and apes with long limbs and prehensile feet.
Yes.
But I
So-
like the nimble, take advantage on agility rolls that involve balancing and climbing, and add +1 to your evasion at character creation.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that. The Qatari, it's like, I like cat people, but it's only feline instincts. On any agility rolls, you may mark a stress to re-roll your hope die.
So this is a good example of what's your class,
But I'm a druid.
your druid, and what's your subclass.
Warden of Renewal.
Warden of Renewal. Is there anything in your class and your subclass that helps you point a direction of your ancestry? And if not, then you just pick whatever you want to play. But I think the reason why they have it being built this way in beta is that you spend a little bit more time tweaking each time you make a choice. So your class influences your subclass choice. Your subclass and class influence your ancestry choice.
No, because this is all instinct based. And
For Qatari.
no, for the Warden of Renewal.
Yeah. So if it's all instinct based, does it make sense to enhance that by going Qatari?
But Qatari doesn't enhance the instinct. It
Oh,
says feline instincts, yes, but it says on any agility roll, you may mark a stress to re-roll your hope die. That's
Okay.
an agility roll.
Yeah.
Not necessarily an
Instinct,
roll.
yeah. I would say
So-
just pick whatever heritage or whatever ancestry you think will just make your character fun.
So
I
was
like-
gonna go with monkey.
Yeah, Simia. Okay, cool. What are you thinking,
I'm
Bill?
thinking it's
I have an overarching idea. I'm going human.
Okay,
You're
so
going
you're
human?
human rogue.
Human?
So Simia,
Human.
Hold on.
Human.
read your Simia ability again.
Nimble. Take advantage on agility rolls that involve balancing and climbing, and add +1 to your evasion at character creation.
Nice. Bill, what is your human?
Perseverance. When you fail a roll that utilized one of your experiences, you may spend a hope to re-roll. You must take the new result.
Nice. You're going way more narrative with your build. aren't you?
Evasion starts
Yeah.
at 8.
Shiloh,
I make that
which
9.
one are you thinking?
I'm checking them out. The furball seems pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. The natural calm is kind of cool. And I also like the Dracona. For
Natural
the
calm.
elemental breath.
Yeah, whenever you should mark a stress, roll a d6. On a 6, you take no stress. So it's like that laid back
I like
hippie
that.
type.
Yeah.
Hey man, don't worry about it. It's gonna
We
be
got
fine.
this.
I like
Whereas with Dracona,
that. And you pick a wizard.
oof.
Yeah, so
Wizard furball.
Ooh, elemental breath for Dracona. That
yeah,
that
that one's kind of cool too. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's an extra D8 damage to all enemies you succeed against.
nice. What are you thinking, Carla?
I'm thinking I'm going to be a giant.
Ooh, I love. Are you gonna be like one of those tall, simple giants that are just like, hey man, I'm really big.
That's my other thought. I could be a
yeah.
giant rogue.
Can you? You're like an 8-foot tall
very
giant. You
sneaky.
step into the shadow, you
Yeah.
disappear.
Oh,
And there's-
dude, you're standing there and nobody sees you because they see legs.
Yeah,
Nobody sees you because you are the shadow.
yeah, because you are casting the shadow. Like they suddenly are in shadow. They're like,
What the?
and then they step out of the shadow like they can't see anything. I love it. You go giant.
Uh-huh.
Be sure to fill that in on your character sheets.
And
Carolyn,
I-
what are you thinking?
And leave space after you put your
Sorry, Carla,
race
go ahead.
for
I'm also beast bound, so how do I choose my beast?
We'll get there. Yeah, we'll get there.
leave space after you put your heritage because there's
You gotta
the
pick
second. Part.
Yeah, there. So in heritage, your first
Your
one is your
class, your
ancestry,
community.
and then it'll be / your community. We'll talk about that in a minute too. I thought you were going to go fun girl, match your hat.
That's what I want to do, but I don't know if I want the thing that comes with it.
Read it.
I
What
know,
comes with it?
It says always connected to speak with other
Fun
fun
girl- fun girl
across
druid.
distances
Yeah, what do
to
they do?
access hive mind of information. Make an instinct roll at character creation describing that ritual you must perform to tap into that connection. But see, that could be great and stuff, but I don't think instinct is going to be my character's main focus. It's just like, I want to
Pick a different one. Yeah, I hear you. So once you have your ancestry, write that in, put a / because in the second part, you then have to pick your community.
So the thing is that it gives you in your ancestry, are you supposed to put that?
We'll get when we do our when we go over the 6 the abilities.
Okay.
When we go over those, we'll discuss those.
Okay.
But yes, you'll have to make modifications as we go.
Well, okay.
Once we it's called set your traits and evasion. Once we get to set your traits and evasion, we'll take all that content and organize it in those spaces. So, community. This is where you come from and the advantages of where you come from. There's highborn. There's ridgeborn. So highborn being of wealth. There's ridgeborn. Being a part of a ridgeborn community means you call the rocky peaks and sharp cliffs of the mountainside your home. Highborn, being a part of a highborn community, means you were born into a life of elegance, opulence, and prestige within the upper echelons of society. Seaborn, being a part of the seaborn community, means you grew up on or near a large body of water. Underborn, being part of an underborn community, means that you are from a subterranean society. Wildborn, being part of means you were raised by a clan deep within the forest. Loreborn means you were brought up in a place that favored strong academic or political prowess. Orderborn it means you were raised in a place of great discipline or faith and upheld a set of principles that reflect your experience there. Wanderborn, you basically raised as a nomad, not having a permanent home, but experiencing a wide variety of cultures. Slyborn community means growing up in the underbelly of society, surrounded by criminals and con artists. So once again, the beauty of so your ancestry and your community means your heritage. The combination of those two mean your heritage. Once again, you look at our starting point, right? You pick a class, right? You pick a subclass, you pick an ancestry, you pick a community. you're beginning to follow the idea of a build, or maybe you want to do a random build and you're just picking things that may sound fun to a good backstory that you may have in mind. So I think with all these choices, and because each choice influences what you can and can't do, it's your characters, they could be a little heavy.
I kind of like Wanderborn. It says add a nomadic pack to your inventory once per session. You may spend a hope to reach into this pack and pull out a common item that is useful in this situation.
See, that stuff reminds me of Candela.
Mhm.
Like, they don't overemphasize precise choices at the beginning of things. They want you to utilize your traits,
like
and they want you to use your traits and your skills and your subclass, your everything about your character to be present in that moment, right? That way you don't feel restricted, or you don't feel like you
on
can't
page
be.
4 is my inventory.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
kind of like Orderborn as well. Orderborn says, record 3 sayings or values your upbringing instilled in you. Once per short rest, when you describe how you're embodying one of these principles through your current action, you may roll with a d20 as your hope die instead of a d12.
See, that's
As a
pretty
bard, I'll
cool.
take the one.
Mama always said double tap.
I'm not saying I'm going to take the Orderborn. I'm saying it like that. I'm reading all of it. We can both be Wanderborn.
Yeah, I'm not worried. Yeah, I just want to make sure we each pick a unique class so that we can give
What,
these things a test.
What heritage did you pick?
Oh, I decided to go with the mongrel even though I was
Wanderborn?
yeah.
I mean, we could both be Wanderborn, and we could have been wandering together. We're nomads that know each other. From the same
Now
nomadic pack.
comes the fun part.
Wait. We still have to figure. Have you guys figured out what you're gonna be?
Yeah.
Community-wise,
Community-wise.
ancestry, community, you got that written down?
Yeah.
All right.
I was really going to go with Underborn, but I think Slyborn fits.
Yeah.
So who's doing what?
Human Slyborn.
What are you doing, Carla?
Monkey
Giant wildborn.
Giant Wildborn, love it.
mongrel wonderful.
No, love it. List.
You choose wildborn?
You can be a sea monkey.
Yeah, you can see more. You can see a monkey. We can pour you into a little cheap
I'm gonna
$8
be-
plastic aquarium and watch the little mosquito sea monkeys. You know.
I'm gonna be a seaborn simia, and my name will be Sea Monkey.
Oh, I love it. No. Be semaphore. You can be semaphore.
I just figured that would be
Liam plays
name
his
is gonna be-
simia with an Irish accent.
My
It's
name
so
is gonna be-
cool.
Alright.
For one
It's
of
so
your,
cool.
for one of your
I
experiences,
just
should
kind of
be
figured
good
that was
And
kind
he
of
carries-
a giant that's quiet.
No, my name's gonna be Monkey C. Monkey D.
And he carries 2 little puppies in his messenger bag, 2 little dogs that are real tiny in his messenger bag. And whenever
he's a what kind of?
I forget, but he, I think he might be a seraph, a simia seraph. And then whenever he casts spells, they're his spell focus, his puppies.
Puppy. So he's petting his puppy.
Yeah, he goes, I consult with me puppies and they tell me what to do. They said I should heal you overnight. You know, and he does it all in an Irish accent. It's really cool.
You've been
Really
watching
cool.
you've been watching that without me. You gotta watch it over with me.
No, he did it, his Irish accent during character
I
creation.
know.
Session
You
0.
gotta watch it over with me.
What were
Session
the
0 or
Session
1? Oh, session 1? Yeah.
what were the different classes? Again, that highborn, lowborn,
Oh,
slyborn, communities.
Community. There's highborn, which means you come from
It's,
privilege.
you have it. It's a
Ridgeborn.
couple pages back.
Oh,
Ridgeborn means you come from the cliffs and ridges. Seaborn, a large body of water.
Oh, okay.
Underborn, subterranean. Wildborn, the wilds.
I'm gonna,
All right.
I'm gonna pick
Loreborn,
Wildborn.
academia. Orderborn, faith. It's really, faith and order. Wanderborn, nomadic. And
Carolyn's got
Slyborn, the
Wanderborn.
underbelly.
I'll do Wildborn.
Yeah, I don't
You
know.
do Wildborn?
I'm gonna be.
Okay.
I'm gonna go for the second.
If I was metagaming,
I never
would
saw.
go
I never
Underborn.
saw those, so that's why I was saying.
Should be in there.
It was
Stuck
behind
to-
behind the
Second
classes.
ancestry page.
If I was metagaming, I would go Underborn as well. The shadow crap. It would be awesome, but
I'm mad again.
Why can't you metagame?
I have an idea.
Oh, okay.
I have a clone set.
Fucking nerd.
Is that what we're putting,
Okay.
class-
Yeah.
Race
did anybody
Correct. So it's ancestry/community.
did anybody pick Ridgeborn?
Nope.
I'll take that one.
Okay.
What flavor are you again?
Ridgeborn.
Ridgeborn what?
No, what class are you?
Dracona.
Oh,
Ooh, yeah,
nice.
it works,
Dracona,
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
And I'm a
From
School
the
of
High
War,
Crags.
so I'm gonna go School
Nice.
of War.
nice. I love it.
That's awesome.
I almost thought about that because a giant would naturally come from the mountainside, but
Or it could be subterranean too.
The hill giant. Could be a sea giant.
but I just
Yeah,
thought, I thought
yeah.
it'd be more ironic for a giant to be silent.
Oh,
Iberg's like nerd alert.
Lord Thomas Covenant, the sea giants.
Yeah, yeah. Well, see, and that's the other thing I've really enjoyed about reading up about how they've been building the character creation process. There's a lot more ease of cultural reference. Like if you're into anime, or if you're into Lord of the Rings, or if you're into Star Wars, if you're into, like a real, like, you could kind of build a Sith, but in fantasy genre, Yeah.
No, Simeon, she's got to go Powerpuff Girls.
The
the monkeys.
Mojo Jojo! Mojo Jojo!
Oh my god, that's great.
Either
So,
that or
We've chosen our class, we've chosen our subclass, chose our heritage. Now we set your traits and evasion. And we're also going to go back to all of our choices and see if we need to make or add any modifiers. We are starting as level 1 because the way they built this system, there's only 10 levels, but level 1 feels like level 5 to me. Like if you really start looking at all your capacity, capabilities, and adaptability as a character, they've done a good job of 2 things. One, I think they give you a lot of opportunity to make your character powerful. If you're a magic user, if you have magic in your build, magic is very powerful in this game. Even at level 1, it can be very, very powerful.
yeah, I was looking at the
The
Grimoires.
Grimoire? Yeah,
There's some interesting choices there.
All right. So, I now remember what I forgot to do with the class.
Yeah, there was a suggestion for
There's Foundation, which is our subclass. However, there are 2 paths you can take at the class level. You can choose. Is it all under heritage, maybe? Why am I not seeing it built into? That's interesting. I don't see it built into the. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's step 10. Never mind. Ignore me. Step 10. We will get there.
Oh yes.
We'll get there. It's
Gotcha.
step 10. It's my fault. I forgot it's step 10 for a reason when I was watching and reviewing.
Get your
the rules.
panties in a bunch. We'll get there.
We'll get there. All right. Now we're gonna set your traits.
I'm gonna put -1 in the present.
So we're gonna set traits and evasion. You do not have armor class, so this will be a bit of a mechanics dump at this point, as we're gonna spend a little time on step 4. So in this game, there is different ways that you take injuries. There's stress and hit points. Hit points are low. You have a low amount of hit points because we use what's called a threshold system. So when you're being attacked by me, the GM, or by a creature that I represent, right? I'm trying to beat your evasion. So you don't really have an armor class. You have evasion. Evasion is the number I need to beat to be able to hit you. So your heritage can influence your evasion. Your class can influence your evasion. And your subclass could influence your evasion. It can also influence your core traits. And your core traits are the following: agility, strength, finesse, instinct, presence, and knowledge. Now, you get the following numbers to put wherever you want inside of those boxes. You get a -1, a 0, a 0, +1, +1, and +2. You then put those anywhere you want in your 6 traits. Keeping in mind your heritage, your subclass, and your class.
What was the numbers again?
They
They're
are
on the the number right here.
Yep, they're on your
Minus
step
1,
sheet.
2 zeros, 2 ones, or 2 positive ones, and a positive 2.
Once again, if you're building a persona, this begins to finally cause your persona to begin taking shape. So evasion. When I beat your evasion, I then roll for damage. The damage I rolled is then compared to your threshold. Threshold determines if it's minor, major, or severe. Based on that threshold, you then take the corresponding amount of hit point damage from me beating your evasion and me then rolling the damage, and it determines on your threshold how much damage you take. Armor soaks damage. So let's say you have heavy armor,
Well,
right?
I get that bonus +1 because of my war.
Exactly.
So
So let's say you've got armor on. Doesn't matter, leather, heavy, metal, whatever armor you choose. And let's say the armor that you have has given you, 3 points worth of soak. You can mark off an armor soak, and then the value of your armor is minus from the damage. So let's say you're wearing armor that's heavy, right? So you have a 10 armor. And let's say I do 19 points of damage to you, and let's say I just gets it into severe. You could choose to soak that damage with an armor point, and therefore deduct 10 from the damage, which then would drop it down to a lower threshold. But you have to repair
We all
armor
start at 12
as
right?
well.
No.
Evasion. Oh, it depends
No, so
depends
you
on
all so for
class.
evasion,
depends on your class.
No.
Okay, it's written underneath.
correct. Everyone starts at 7, but based on your heritage, your class, and your subclass, you may
Not
determine.
everyone starts at 7.
Hold on, let me finish. You start at 7. Depending on how you organize your traits, depending on your heritage choices, depending on your subclass choices, depending on your class, you then adjust your evasion to those conditions.
So for the class points, it already
Oh
tells
shit.
us.
Okay, sorry. So thank you for
Yeah.
correcting me. I was wrong. So underneath your evasion emblem, it tells you what you start at.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you want to take all your choices you just made into consideration when you make your adjustment.
My Simia says add +1 to your evasion at character creation.
There you go.
I
So I
can't add my
added
character
+1.
unless it's animated.
So what did your evasion start at?
8.
8. And what's it at after your modifiers?
9.
Bill?
Well,
Starts at 12?
yes.
Oh, shit.
Rogue.
That's
Rouge.
well, that's true.
Yeah.
Rogue. Do you get any modifiers for your choices so
I'm
far?
looking. No.
For the human, no.
Human, no. And Slyborn, no.
Okay.
mine starts at 8,
Okay.
and then my armor's 0, but I have to add the +1 because of my school, my foundation.
Right. So you get an extra armor point. Or do you get an extra point to your armor number? Was it say?
It
Read
says an extra armor slot.
yes.
Immediate,
So
immediate.
everybody starts with 3 armor slots.
Okay,
But
I see.
because of what you chose, you'll
So
get a
I
4th
get
armor
I get
slot.
to fill in one of
Correct.
those
Yep.
cubes. So
You get, you
like,
can outline it.
Yeah.
Because filling it in means you use it.
right.
So you would outline it, meaning because of
That
what you
I-
built, you get a 4th one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like I get an additional hit point slot.
Correct. Yeah, character creation. You would get
So that's
one more
okay.
hit point slot.
So I
Or
just
an
filled in
extra-
that little.
Well, you don't fill it in, just outline it.
That,
Yep. Outline it.
Why do the fairies have to be bugs?
Well, they can be anything.
But it says with insect-like creatures or features.
But it can technically be anything.
Like you could probably play it.
I don't want to be an insect.
You gonna be a dung beetle?
I don't want to be an insect.
Dung beetle. She carries around a ball of dung with her wherever she goes.
Flying spiders, right? I'm gonna be a flying spider.
Yeah, you could be a flying spider. You could be a praying mantis.
Little like butterfly antenna.
She's nonplussed. Not interested.
So, and because you're Ridgeborn, you take an +1 to your armor.
Correct.
Oh, I didn't even look at that. I was just looking at I didn't read all the
So
way
in
through.
Ridgeborn, what does it say?
Yeah, Ridgeborn, you have advantage on traversing dangerous cliffs and ledges, navigating harsh environments, and survival knowledge. Also gain +1 to your armor score. That's
So in that
different
case,
than
yeah,
a
that's your
slot.
score,
So that's
not
a
a slot.
That's going to be a +1 to my.
Score, whatever
base.
armor you end up picking. Which we'll
Okay.
get to that part in a minute.
Add +1.
Gotcha.
So in the game itself, duality dice become affected by modifiers. So as you're journeying through the game, like we do with D&D and other games that we play, right? Your traits, agility, strength, finesse, instinct, presence, and knowledge are the scores that you could either narrate to me and say, hey, storyteller, I want to read this book and see if I gain any knowledge in regards to what I'm hoping to find. And I say, great, roll your duality dice, add your knowledge to it, and then based on the DC, we then narrate out the results. If you're leaping over something, it would be agility. If you're lifting or smashing or grappling, it's strength. If it's control, hide, or tinker, it's finesse. If it's perceive, sense, navigate, it's instinct. Charm, perform, deceit, presence. Recall, analyze, and comprehend. Their trait system reminds me of Candela a bit, where they kind of make it more open format and more interpretive, so we're not hamstrung by specific skills. If it feels like it's agility based, but we're not sure how to call it agility, you make the roll and add the agility modifier. If it feels strength based, even though it may not be lift, smash, or grapple, but it feels like it's a strength option, then you roll with your strength modifier, right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like how we've been playing Candela, but the trait system is I think designed to make it much more lighter, where you don't feel overwhelmed by all your skill choices, if that makes sense. It's more about your traits and your core traits and how you interact with the world and how you're going to choose to challenge DCs and challenge the narrative and kind of challenge how you're going to make rolls. Okay over there, honey?
She's questioning her choice.
Hey, Table of Horrors, thanks for the raid. Appreciate it.
Hey, Raid.
Don't
Yay,
push
Raid.
your choices. Make all the wrong choices and then it's fear.
Well, we'll get to that because what I really love about the way they're letting the other thing too is my NPC creation and my monster creation is a lot easier for me now. I don't have to go down a rabbit hole to build those things anymore. Because monsters don't have an evasion. So when you use your abilities and use your actions to strike at monsters or enemies, the outcome of your duality dice and your skill sets kind of determine your successes and failure. I do have a difficulty in mind to hit them, but it's a difficulty, not an evasion, not an armor class. So maybe it's a goblin thief, right? Is what you're facing. Their difficulty is a 10. So as long as your roll is a 10 or higher, you hit them. But if you hit them with fear and succeed with fear, that ends everybody's turn and it moves back to the GM. And now I'm activating my creatures or my
Your turn.
NPCs
How
or my monsters.
how do you tell whether you hit with hope or fear?
Color of your dice.
The
whichever's
highest,
higher.
the higher number,
Oh, okay.
and which dice presumes the higher number or causes the higher number to happen. So if you roll 4
Okay.
with fear, 10 with hope, that's 14 with hope. So you rolled with hope, you get a hope marker, but let's say the DC was a 10. So you
Right.
hit with hope, right? When you hit with hope, you would then roll your corresponding weapon damage. So let's say your weapon damage is a D10. You'd roll a D10, you add all your subsequent modifiers to it. And let's say you do 18 points of weapon damage, right? The way my system works for being a monster is not the same threshold outcome for you. So my threshold is a lot lower or higher depending on the difficulty. So if you did 18 weapon damage, and my threshold for minor is 5, major is 10, and severe is 12, you just did severe damage, which then causes 3 hit points of damage to my monster character or whatever I'm using.
Okay.
It's kind of what I found.
So you have like when you take damage, it's not you take a certain amount of damage. It's kind of like you take it based on the severity of the
Correct, right? So
strike.
it takes into mind that you
So-
wear armor, you have special abilities.
glancing blows.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
gonna hurt, but it's it'll leave a
Exactly.
mark, but maybe
It's
not
much more.
incapacitate.
It's much more of a creative combat as opposed to a linear combat. And the
Okay.
best part is there's no initiative. It's co-op. You guys decide when you're active. You guys decide what you're doing, either amongst each other, or you just immediately say, "Oh, I want to do this," and then that person goes. The best part is you keep going until you fail.
Someone
Every
Particular
time you
action.
spend an action, we put a token on the action marker. So let's say you have let's just say you have like 15 actions that are successful, right? Well, that sounds great until you realize someone finally fails. I now have 15 tokens. I can now use those tokens to activate things. So it's asymmetric. It's an asymmetrical system. It's designed to create tension through ebb and flow. So it starts off feeling great, like you're doing well, and then you look and go, "Oh shit, he's got 15 tokens."
Act 1, Act 2.
Yeah, it's this ebb and flow, ebb and flow, and ebb and flow until the tension gets to this point where it really comes to a head.
And it makes you really have to work with your group.
And the best part, I'll tell you what, the best part I love about this system is it's truly a co-op. It really is. It is designed to be a co-op. And while we're creating these characters, and I know we're only on step 4, but
Yeah.
we've kind of now wandered into step 5, which is setting your threshold and setting your hope. And your threshold matters, right? And it's unique to your build because that threshold is going to determine that when I try to beat your evasion and then roll damage after I hit you or after you do something or fail, right? It then indicates how many hit points of damage that you take. Make sense? But it's really fun because now you're beginning to look at your class, your subclass, your foundation, your heritage, and then you're looking at your traits, and now you're trying to establish your threshold. And this begins to show you how your character is defining itself to a certain degree, based on whether you want to go min-max, which is hard to do with this system. It's not easy. And I think they took that in mind because they want it to be a much more kind of fluid game, quicker. I noticed that when I watched the Critical Role one-shot, there was maybe 3 hours and 30 minutes of actual play, 3 hours and 20 minutes of actual play within their 4-hour session. They had 3 combats and they still had a narrative session. So the combat really becomes a lot lighter, and it could be determined that you resolve a combat so quickly, we don't even need to pull out a board for the purposes of resolving a more complex combat. The only time a board may even come out is if you need more than 2 rounds to resolve the situation. So even though there's plenty of combat opportunity, it's not heavy at all. It's quick. It
Like
can
you're
be
actually
very
in
light,
combat.
very quick in the way the interaction happens. Now, there's been some critique. The combat may reward people for doing nothing, right? Because if you don't initiate an action,
You don't get one.
then I don't get a token. But if you decide to do nothing and your characters are suffering due to your absence, it's not very co-op-y, right? So it's that balance of, okay, they're doing great without me. I'm going to sit and wait in the hedges and see what happens. Well, suddenly they're rolling failure after failure, and I'm activating more and more often. Plus, during the combat round, you can spend hope. So you can spend a hope and give someone advantage. Give them a D6, and they get to add a 1d6 to their roll, right? I have fear. I have a pool of fear right here I get to use. I'm going to spend 2 fear really quick and ambush you. Take your turn away from you. And then I go automatically. Or I spend 2 fear and I get a token. Or I spend 2 fear and I give you a disadvantage on your next roll. So I now have economy. I have an interactive economy that allows me to better represent the challenge that you're in. But I got to be careful. If I run out of fear and I run out of action tokens, then I'm stuck. My guys can't do anything against you. And then suddenly the initiative or the ebb, the flow, is back on your side of the table until you have another failure. But this teaches us that all things have consequence. All things have a potential outcome based on the choices you're about to make.
Choose a starting weapon.
Yeah,
Well, hold on.
yeah,
Let's
no,
keep doing
there's
this
a
together.
sheet-
So,
there's a sheet
we need
full
to
of it.
set your threshold. So has everyone set your threshold so far?
I
It
think
should be
so.
right at the top.
That's the 6,
Start
the
at-
0 and the
No.
0.
No, those are your traits.
Oh,
Your threshold,
Yeah.
right? The blank.
Minor, major, and severe.
How do you set those?
Under
the
hit
numbers
points and
right on
stress,
top.
it says
Right above it.
under hit points and stress, it says start at minor and then a number, major and then a number, severe and then a number. Can you see it?
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then fill that number in.
So that number in.
Okay.
Now, also keep in mind, if you've made a ancestry or community choice or a class or subclass choice, there may be modifiers in there for that.
Now, is foundation and subclass the same thing?
Yes, they are.
Okay, I
Yeah.
just
I'm,
want
not,
to
I'm
make sure.
hoping.
I just want to make sure I wasn't missing something.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the dual naming system. If you want to call it heritage, that's fine. But heritage means ancestry and community. If you want to call it subclass, that also means foundation. So either call it subclass or call it foundation.
Well,
so
they're different.
No,
It's
I was
just
looking for-
you have your class and then you have your subclass. You know which branch you took.
right, but subclass has 2 names right now:
Yes.
foundation or subclass. They mean the same thing.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of that.
That
Yeah.
threw me off.
Should
Yeah.
either say on their foundation or something.
Yeah, I
And
don't.
say
If you don't
So, like,
have
somebody
prior
else
knowledge,
might,
you wouldn't
their
know.
character
Right.
might say a
But I think,
subclass, whereas mine
I
says a
think they kind
foundation.
of.
Yours says
I
foundation.
think they kind of did that on
Mine
purpose.
says foundation.
Up by name, pronouns, heritage. Yours says foundation.
No, on my choices on the
It should
sheet,
say subclass.
I had
and
a
then-
choice between the School of Knowledge or the School of War. Those are both foundations.
Right, but you choose one.
Yes,
Right, but
which
that's
I
also
did. Which I did.
right. And if you look,
But it's not saying foundation up here.
right, it says subclass.
It says
Yeah,
subclass.
that's why I was
That's
trying
why
to
Exactly.
to
That's why
clarify.
that'll be in my survey
That was a
critique.
little confusing.
In my survey critique, that'll be in my survey critique
Yeah.
because on here it says subclass foundation on your 2 choices.
Yeah, but this
Right.
it should say if that.
It should just be subclass.
It
Or
should
they
be
could
that
just say
everywhere.
subclass dot foundation.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it is a little confusing. That's
Okay.
why we're going through this step by step so that when I
So
fill out the character
basically,
creation survey, I can give them some feedback.
Nothing on mine has.
so like the hit points and the stresses, those are based on your class and your
Correct.
heritage or community.
Well, that's
Ancestry.
why-
Or they could influence it. So the character sheet already has your built-in.
built-in one.
Right.
Right.
But if
You
you
already outlined. The
but if
one
you have to
that was
modify it, then
So
that-
let's say you picked a community that helped you improve your stress.
like
You would then outline.
like the
the stress.
the
You
frog
have
guy.
if you have an ancestry that helps your hope, you outline that you have an extra hope.
Right.
Or maybe your class influences a trait. Maybe you picked a class that gives you +1 on finesse. That would bump up your modifier on
Okay.
finesse as part of your trait.
So, starting weapon.
All right, so step 6, starting weapon. Now this matters this actually is pretty important.
I said you start with
Oh, okay. So, sorry, I forgot that step 5 is cut into threshold and hope. So everybody starts with 2 hope.
Okay.
It's just something you have to implement that.
Right. So you could choose many different ways to monitor your hope. You can use tokens, therefore you don't have to involve yourself with the character sheet.
And you can only have 5 at a time.
You can only at your current level.
Okay.
At your current level, if you don't have any ability to add more hope right now, you're basically only ever allowed to bank up to 5. Once your bank is full, you can't earn any more hope.
So you have to spend
Okay, but we have
If you want
we
to earn,
start
well,
with
yeah,
2 to start off.
correct. So if you choose to use a character sheet, I would recommend filling in 2 hope. That signifies you have 2 hope. If you're using tokens, take 2 tokens that represent hope, and that's how you know that you have 2 hope. Or you could simply just circle 2 hope. It's up to you to choose how you want to track it.
I was easy.
I plan on using tokens for
I like the token idea, but
But
for
at the end of
getting
every game, you probably want to write down how many you had.
Yeah, where you
yes,
Yeah.
yes, I would
That's-
agree with that.
that's-
Yeah,
so basically everybody starts with 2 unless you get like a modifier that says add 1 or something,
yes.
Okay.
which I don't think I have.
Weapons. What do I want? What do I want? What do I want? That's a druid. What do I want? What do I want?
As a druid,
So here's the thing: weapons are they're starting primary weapons, and they're starting secondary weapons. You'll notice,
Can we take a magic weapon?
no, yes, of course you can. So you have starting primary weapon, which is physical, starting primary weapon, which is magic, starting secondary weapon, and secondary weapons have a more diminished value, but give you some clarity of option. You'll notice the column that says burden. That's how many hands it takes to wield a weapon. So, for example, battle axe, it shows 2 hands. That for burden, that means it's a 2-handed weapon, which means you cannot use a secondary weapon while you're in combat. You have damage type, which is physical, magical. Then you have damage itself. You have the feature associated with the weapon that you choose. Range, and we'll go over range in a moment because it does matter. And the trait that's associated to the weapon you pick, which I absolutely love that. It makes weapons feel more real. Battle axe, strength, melee, no feature. Warhammer, strength, melee, considered a large weapon, therefore -1 to your agility. But the difference between battle axe and Warhammer is a D10 versus a D12 with a +2. So it does have an option to do a little bit more damage because it's such a large, oversized weapon. If that makes sense.
How often do you get to add new weapons?
Depends on what you find in the game, what you purchase, what you.
Oh, you don't need a skill for it? If you pick it up, you got it?
No, it's not a skill. It's there are proficiencies involved, but I'm still struggling with how they use proficiency in here.
So
At level 1, I think you have a proficiency of 1, and I'm not sure what that means yet. I'm
I think
still
it
working.
means we get 1 damage dice.
Think that yes, you're right. You're correct. Your proficiency goes up in levels. How did you remember that?
you're
We
not.
were talking about it while we were
Yes, you're
watching
right
it.
because I was struggling with proficiency.
So you're saying that as a magic user, I'm not limited to what weapons I can use. I
Exactly.
could go around with the Warhammer if I wanted
You
to.
could go around with a warhammer, a shield on your back.
Not that I choose that, but I'm just saying.
But you
that-
could. You could
but
be a battle wizard if you wanted to.
Well, I am a school of war, so
That's what I love about this. There's not those kind of tropey.
like you can't use a bladed weapon because you're a cleric.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Like a lot of those tropes are gone in this build type. The way you're creating character, it's more about how you want to play. It's not about character guidelines hamstringing you into a box. It's about you picking the parts of the puzzle of your character creation that helps you want to play the character that you want to play. That makes sense? I love that part of it. It's very astute. So proficiency, you start at level 1 with a 1 proficiency. It does go up with levels. The proficiency determines the number of dice you roll for the weapon damage. So if you level up and gain another proficiency level and it goes to a 2, it means instead of rolling 1d10, you roll 2d10. So by the time you get up to like level 10, you proficiency of 5, you're rolling 5d10.
So, for instance,
That's
my
cool.
presence is a plus 2. If I'm a rapier or a scepter, that's a presence, right?
Correct.
And
If that's what it says on there, right?
yeah, like there's other things here. Like I have plus ones. So it's like, well, how do you decide? Is it the plus 2 added to die or
Correct.
okay?
However, you'll notice
I
that,
think the +2 is added to your
Well, hold on.
attack die.
so
Your-
yeah, let me walk through this. So if you go with the rapier, let's say, and the rapier is your presence trait. So what's your modifier for presence? So you now have a +2. Rapier is melee, so that's touch. You have to be in base with someone. Because it's a small weapon, it's +1 to agility as well, right? So by using that, your agility now has a +1. It's a D8 physical one-handed weapon. So you'll take your 2d12, right? And let's say as your class, you get a +1. Your +2 for your presence, right? And let's say somebody spends a hope and gives you a d6. And now you're rolling to hit the monster, right? So that is a 4 with fear.
Hey, my dice do terrible for you.
Yep.
Borrow my dice.
No, 4 with fear, 5 with fear, because you get to add the advantage. So it's a 5 with fear, but you also got a +2 for presence. So still a 7 with fear. So I would take a fear token if I had room in my pool. You just utterly failed. So it's a pretty dramatic outcome of failure. If this was a combat situation or combat action, I would then have the option of taking over if there were enough action tokens by the time you failed. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Under the magical weapons, the scepter is also a presence. And have a +2 on top of that.
That's because it's a magical weapon. So that would have given you a +4. +2 for presence, +2 for magic, and plus a d6 because someone gave you hope and gave you advantage. Now, let's go the other direction.
Check that roll.
Let's
12 and a
say
1.
you roll. Well, we'll talk about crits, right? Because crits are important. So that's, well, no, that's a 15.
Are crits doubles?
Yeah, any doubles are automatic success. You gain a hope, and you clear all your stress. So even if the difficulty is a 15, if you roll double ones, it's considered a critical success.
Even
Gain
though,
a hope for
because,
if
even
you
though
have
it's
room.
a 2, but it's like
Exactly,
it's
'cause
matching. So
It really gives criticals weight. It really gives it value.
right.
So now in this case, I rolled a 15 with hope, adding my D4 brings it to a 19 with hope. Let's say it's your magic scepter and presence. That's another +4. So that's a 23 to hit with hope. Let's say the difficulty of the creature is a 13. You clearly hit it, right? So with your scepter with a proficiency of 1, you get a D8 +2, right? So, but here's the thing. Also, because it's based on presence, you can add your presence to the damage as well. So it's a D8 +2 because it's a magical scepter, +2 for presence. So you would pull out your D8 and you'd roll. So that is a 6 +2 because it's magic, +2 because of presence. So that's 10. And let's say your character class gives you a +1. And let's say your ancestry gives you a +1. You would then add those modifiers as well. That's the amount of damage you do, right? And then I would look at my threshold for the monster that you're fighting. I don't have armor, right? So let's say you did a major threshold is where it lands. I would then take 2 hit points off my hit point pool.
I'm probably going to have to go with the scepter because its distance is far and my severe is only a 13, so I'll stay as far away from them as I can. So that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Keep in mind it's your primary weapon. A scepter, and keep in mind too that a scepter would make more sense if you cast magic. Okay,
I think I have bard that have some.
okay, that works. What'd you pick for your primary weapon?
Daggers.
Daggers,
Do them both daggers.
Short bow
short bow.
for physical or for the magic. Do we get one of each or just
No,
one?
you just get one.
Oh,
You only get one primary,
um,
but you do get a secondary, and we'll talk about how secondary works
I think that there's some things that will give you the second primary, but I don't know which. they-
later on in levels.
yeah.
So the higher levels and tiers you get, then the
That's,
more options you start getting at that
I think
point.
I'll probably still start with the short bow as my
Okay,
primary.
love it.
It goes with what I chose for my the numbers that you throw across the shields at the top. But I also really want to get a hand rune. But it still works out because I have a breath weapon if it gets really dirty. If it gets in close and I'm in trouble.
Yeah, I don't think this is a character that wants people or close. Being in mycelium, or watching person, I'm seeing far away and talking to things far away.
Well, and that one ability reminds me of your speak with nature ability, you know, where you put your little fungal kind of fingers into the ground and seek out other fungus nearby,
Yeah.
and it'll maybe answer a question for you. So I just think it's a little bit more creative because technically mycelium can live on the other side of the world and still be part of the same root system. That's how amazing the whole mycelium thing could
I
be.
need to ask Professor Mycelium in the College of all Knowledge a question about this thing that I'm coming across.
Yeah. I love it. So secondary weapons matter because if you're using a weapon that gives you a burden of two hands, you'll notice that all the secondary weapons are one-handed burdens. So this is when you change to your secondary weapon, and you're not as proficient with your secondary, right? So if you've got a two-handed burden weapon, if you decide to use your secondary weapon, it means you've put away your two-handed weapon and you're now using your secondary weapon. So back to the battle wizard or a battle caster. You could carry a sword that's one-handed and a shield that's one-handed as your secondary. So let's say your long sword, which is an agility, which may not be a main trait for a wizard, right?
I was looking at that as a possibility too.
Right?
I
So-
do like the sword.
You'll notice that quarterstaff is instinct. Instinct tends to be a more dominant trait for casters.
But it's a two-handed, so you don't get the shield or you know.
Right. So they kind of built in some of the more obvious trope formulas
Little checks
more
and
into the
balances.
weapons rather than into the class itself. But it's still, from a standpoint of mitigation, it doesn't really hamstring you nearly as much as a martial class versus a non-martial class versus an arcane class, a divine class, a nature class, and stuff like that. So it's interesting how they've done that. So for example, if you take a round shield, which is a single-handed secondary choice, you add +2 to your armor score. So it has value.
What is that negative? You still take a shield? What would that do?
Yeah, you could, but
Would it do anything to your trait?
no, it lowers your armor or it's no, so your trait is strength and you take shield. So shield would add to your armor, but you gain no benefits from your strength. Because you'll know strength doesn't really play into that feature. But if you tried to shield bash, you'd be at the.
So I could just basically have this shield that can hit +2 to my armor, but I don't do anything.
It's possible, right? Because let's say you're in a base with like a couple monsters, and your primary weapon isn't doing so well. and you decide as a reaction to use your shield bash, well, you'd have a -1 because of your strength. But if you use your primary weapon, you might have a +2.
How does it work with lane shooting sector? It's the first. It looks like it's the only one that is. It allows me to switch between one hand.
Correct.
So how would that work with secondary?
Well, scepter can only ever be primary.
No. Okay. Yeah, the scepter is primary.
Right.
I'm talking about how does that work with my hand?
Well, according to this, it says one hand.
Versatile scepter, presence bar, versatile presence melee.
It doesn't indicate two hands. It only indicates one hand.
So what does it mean by versatile?
Don't know. I'll have to look that up. As far as I can tell, versatile is presence, melee,
yeah,
D10.
Melee, you use a D10, but when you're using it at range,
It's a D8. Yeah. Thank you. Good catch.
So if I
Say
do
that one
as
more
a
time.
bunker, I can do a bunker.
The one she chose was the
Scepter,
Scepter.
as
It
a
has
primary.
versatile as its feature, and it says presence melee 10, D10. So that's if you're using it in melee range, it's a D10. But if you're using it anything up to far, it's a D8 plus 2.
So basically, it's a D10 of all of it.
Pew pew D8 plus 2 or bonk D10.
Let's look this up.
Would that dual staffs be like the
Those, yeah,
Alpha?
yeah, and they'd be paired.
Yeah.
So it's possible
What
to
an
take a secondary weapon that's called paired, and it
I
gives you
saw
an
that.
extra feature because it says paired.
I saw that one for like the short sword.
Does the D10 also add plus two, or does it not?
No.
Oh, that's right.
Well, I
So
could.
grapple. Grapple is restrained. A character when grappled, not move. The person doing the grapple can't move. And what's interesting,
Hey, dude.
you'll notice on the sheet, there's, and I have to look this up because I may have missed this. There's no movement score. So I'll have to look up how they define how far you can move.
Oh, it's weird.
Is it like by class or something?
No. How did you look it up?
I only saw the distances, how they mark the distance, like the long edge of
Well,
a paper.
no. That marking distance is easy.
Yeah.
That part I got.
Yeah.
What I haven't, for some reason, my brain didn't do the calculus for movement. So I don't even know how your character moves in
Yeah.
combat. So I'll have to look that up. No, it does. You do.
So you can choose to start with a primary magic weapon versus a primary physical weapon.
Apparently, there are certain creatures that can leave the camera from one or the other, so they're both good. But it doesn't like some are affected by
take
magic, some are only affected by.
Can't take a primary physical and a primary magic.
You can have one primary and one secondary.
Right.
Starting.
But you basically you'd start with a primary magic weapon.
Yeah, and then you just loot dagger off of their body.
Well, because I was thinking a quarterstaff or dual staff.
If I wasn't so afraid of
We were
being
talking
able to
about the
combat
dual stuff,
with
pretty much like Tonfa.
then I would probably go with the rapier dagger double, 'cause that could-
The batons, basically, you have
Sticks.
a match set of batons. The ones that have like a little knob on it, so you can spin it around and stuff.
I think that would be good for a monkey.
No, you throw poop.
Well, what's your
That'll be one of your experiences. I flew
best
through.
modifier on your comp there?
Oh,
You kinda what-
I'm instinct based.
Yeah, so you might want to look that. I'm also instinct based, so
Okay.
something that's instinct based, like the short staff, might be, more your liking.
Or hand grenades.
That's why I chose the quarterstaff.
Runes are very gritty.
The runes are very dirty.
Movement. While under pressure or in
I
danger,
was
you
looking
can
at
always
that one,
move
too.
to a location that's within your close range. So
Okay.
everyone can move up to 30 feet. That's how they determine it. So everyone can move up to 30 feet. If you're doing so as part of something that requires an action roll, if you simply want to move to another spot on the map while danger is present, or if you're trying to move to a location that's far or very far away from you, you'll typically need to make an agility roll to reposition yourself there safely. On a failure, you may only get partway there. The adversaries might act before you can make it, or something might keep you from leaving where you are. There's no risk or potential complication in moving a certain distance. No roll is required. So you may just move the 80 feet if there's nothing in between you, because that's your action that you take. You move that 80 feet, and that gets you in base with a monster. You then
stab him and then run away, throw a rock at him and then run back up and stab him. And
right, but
until I.
but
F up
now
that
you're in
roll.
danger.
Yeah.
Which means you have to start making agility
Agility
rolls when you
rolls,
move away, and the monster may have a reaction. So as you move away, I could choose that monster. I spend a fear, and he takes his reaction and goes after you.
Cool.
But I may have any fear to spend, and therefore you're able to move away. So that ebb and flow really plays in. Here, let me post the link to Daggerheart real quick. I got people asking me about that.
So the hand runes are only melee. That's touch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But the
So there's
dual staff is
there's
far.
there's close. There's
Very close.
well, sorry. There's melee, which is touch. There's close.
It's very close.
There's very close, close, far, and very far. And they kind of are what they sound. There is a measurement associated to it. I just don't have the cheat sheet out for it right now.
Yeah, this is one of the measurements.
That's far. Or is that very far?
Probably everything past that is probably very far.
That's right.
Because one of them was
Right.
a short edge of a card,
Yeah. Which I think
one
is the
and one of them was a pencil.
It's
Yeah.
about 2.5.
What is?
No short. About hard. About 2.5.
It's closer to
Oh yeah.
yeah. So there's the whole range thing is, I think, subject to interpretation. I mean, obviously, if most of what you do is touch, it's obvious you're in melee. If you do something within close or very close, you're within 30 to 60 feet.
I'm within a paper distance.
Yeah. And I think they do that on purpose to simplify how to determine.
So you don't have to get out there with the
Yeah.
tractor and-
Get your pencil out, everybody. Pencil
Yeah.
for close.
Yeah. I think they definitely move away from the 5 feet square. And I think it's designed to make it easier for people to build terrain boards, so they're not feeling
Boxed in,
boxed into a particular type of terrain to pull something up. All right, so what number are we on? We're 6. Choose your starting weapons. Go ahead and choose your starting armor as well. That's at the bottom. You can do leather armor, breastplate armor, chainmail armor, and full plate armor. The armor score is off to the right. Keeping in mind, certain armors affect your traits. So, for example, if you go full plate armor, right, it's -2 to your evasion and -1 to your agility.
I'm gonna go light and screw myself in the foot.
So you're on leather?
Yeah.
You get 3 armor score for that. So write that in your open bracket there.
And it gives me a plus 9.
There you go. Did you do
13 evasion. Baby.
Nice.
Now, where's the evasion at?
That's up in traits
Oh, okay.
to the left.
mine's
So
starting
evasion
at
and armor are side by side,
Right.
along with your armor soak points next to your armor.
So the armor score, is that where we put the base score?
Well, you got to choose which armor.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
I'm going light as well because I want the plus one.
We have light,
Like,
I mean, you guys pretty much putting Ivar in either the Seraph or Warrior quarters. Hey, Ivar, if you choose not to show up, that's what you get, buddy.
Well, I needed the plus one to my evasion.
That would have been a word.
Hey, you know, like Cav, quick, responsive, move, stay out of trouble, close to medium range, kind of guiding your optimization
And
within
you're
combat.
wearing animal skins because you're a druid.
I'm a druid.
And we'll do a sample combat tonight. That's why I left out some pieces for us to play with.
So evasion is the one you have to hit before we take damage.
Well, you may not take damage. So I may roll an 18
It's our
versus
damage.
your...
It's our damage class.
Right. So let's say your armor class is 13 or 10. We'll say it's 10. Right. And your evasion is what? So your armor is 10.
Armor's 3.
Your armor's 3. Your evasion is 10. Right. So I got to beat that evasion to hit you.
So what do the armor slots represent then?
Armor soak.
That
So you could-
represents how many points of damage you take, or how many points that he hits you for that it doesn't.
So what's your armor at right now?
I haven't chosen between the two. So.
Let's say your armor's a 10. Okay. Let's say I beat your evasion and I do 18 points of weapon damage.
Mine doesn't have a start at, so does that mean I start at 0?
And
Or?
the armor's here.
What are you
Which
talking?
is
Wait,
3,
wait,
5.
hold on. What do you mean you don't have a start at for evasion?
Well, because like the evasion, it says start at 8.
Armor
Right.
is
The armor doesn't have a number on it.
Right. You have to wear armor to have a value.
Okay. All right.
So if you choose no armor, then you have no armor on. Right. Then you could make that choice.
It's
if
a
you want
valid
to.
choice.
Yeah, it is a choice. But let's say you're a caster, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say you go with leather, just for giggles, which gets you a 3, right? So I roll to beat your evasion, right? What's your evasion for your character?
It'd be 8 if I put leather. It'd be 9.
Okay. So let's say it's leather, so it's a 9, and I roll a 15 on my d20. I beat your evasion. I either meet it or beat it, right? And let's say my weapon damage is 1d8 plus 4. And I roll a 7 plus 4, which is 11. I then spend fear to add another d6 to do more damage, right? 5 more points. So I do 16 points of weapon damage.
Which would be severe because it's over 12.
Exactly. Now you could say, I'm going to use an armor soak and reduce that by 3.
For the things still here.
Well, actually, it does because it helps you because at the higher level, you're reducing
You get bumped from a severe
versus
to a
versus
major.
1 versus
That's
2
right, you can take
versus
2
3.
and 2 armor.
Right. So the best time to use an armor soak is if you feel the armor value, and you could actually use all 3 at once and then take 9 off of the damage.
Right.
Right. But that represents your armor taking a severe amount of damage. And you could run out of
slots.
slots. But if it's a life or death situation, you could choose to do that. So once again, this game is giving you pools of options, and based on outcome rolls,
Right.
you
Decide
use the
when
action
you
economy
need to
to do to make your determinations, just like we do with Candela with gilded dice versus this versus that.
And
Right.
what's the evasion take effect on? Just,
That's why you have
That's what I have to beat to hit you.
Yeah, that's
I have to
It's
meet
like
or
armor-
beat it
it's
in
Like
order to
armor
hit.
class in the other.
So if your evasion's 10, I get a d20. I rolled an 18, I hit you. But here's the cool thing. Maybe something hits you that can only do 5 points of damage. You can't do any more than that. I don't roll. That's all it does. What's your minor threshold?
Mark 1.
No. What's the number?
Oh, 2.
2. So I'm just above your minor threshold. Well,
You're less than my major. Yeah.
but you could decide using your armor soak on that would drop it below your minor threshold. And if it drops below your minor threshold, you don't take a hit point, you take a stress.
and
Makes
your
sense?
and your armor takes damage that you have to repair.
Correct. So let's say, for example, I have a monster that whenever it hits, it can only ever do 5 points of damage. Right? That damage is compared to your threshold. You decide, well, I want it to drop below my minor, because if it drops below my minor, that means I only take stress. I don't take hit points. So once again, the action economy allows you to start gauging, calculating, and managing how you want your characters to react to what's going on. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
Because you got a poker face, so it's always hard for me to tell.
Well, I'm thinking. That's
Yeah.
all.
I know. Call a poker face. How dare you? All right. So we did steps 1 through 7. Step 8. Take your starting inventory. The starting inventory for your class is listed on your character guide. Record those items in the inventory section of your character sheet. I believe it's on your second page
On your character guide.
of the character guide. Yes.
Inventory.
I do like how they give you like suggested traits, suggested primary,
Yeah.
secondary,
So-
suggested armor. That's kind of cool.
Your bonuses on the your shields on the top, your knowledge, presence, instinct, finesse.
Those
Do
are all your traits.
Do those traits modify any of your other stuff?
If it's so, it's more about your other stuff modifying those traits.
Okay, so I'm not all.
Right. So your class, your foundation, your ancestry, your community, and we'll get to domain because it'll make more sense once we get to domain. But it's more about those other things than modifying your traits.
Okay.
So your traits will go up and down on as you level and how you choose to continue the build of your character. But your starting traits don't influence downward. They only influence upward, which means all your choices you're making beforehand, as you level, those modifiers begin to be more effective upward because of your leveling system.
I have a handful of gold.
All right, so economy, I don't know if I like it yet. And since we're on, since technically they don't put a step for us to talk about economy, I'm going to talk about it in step 8 because you're taking your inventory. And taking your inventory could include you taking some gold. So the way they've built the economy, they don't necessarily want it to be the main focus. So what they do is 5 handfuls of gold equals 1 bag of gold. 4 bags of gold equals a chest of gold. 3 chests of gold equals a hoard. 2 hoards equals a fortune. What they're trying to do is what they're trying to do, I think, is if you go shopping and you want to buy a weapon, I might say, okay, that'll cost you 3 handfuls of gold. And then you cross off.
Dude, if you want to buy a castle, it's going to be a fortune.
If you want to persuade my NPC that it should only be 2 handfuls, you can use your presence, and we can still use the duality dice to kind of narrate that out. If I choose it's not a complex situation, I may just decide, okay, 2 handfuls sounds good as an NPC.
I know a couple of people that they're so economy focused in the game.
Well, and I think it's designed to really make it, how shall we say?
Less anal.
Yeah, well, that and more focused on the narrative. More focused on, like in Candela, you guys have noticed.
One handful of gold.
Me too.
To start with. So in Candela, there's a lot more of narrative that you guys are doing. They still technically do that a lot with this game. There's a lot of narrative designed to.
Stamina. What's the stamina?
Stamina?
I believe stamina reduces stress, health reduces hit point damage. I think it's a D4. So it has value. Definitely has value. So 9, choose your description. Pretty self-explanatory.
Is there a spot? There's not a spot. Is there?
Yeah.
Small bag of rocks and bones, or strange pendant.
I believe.
Oh. It's on this other page.
Yes, your character sheet has 2 active pages.
Gotcha. I didn't have to write all the shit. Then you can just search.
Exactly.
That's fine.
small bag of rock 4 and bone 4 of strength and confidence.
Technically, your character sheet is this, which is your primary sheet, and then your secondary sheet. So your character sheet is 2 sheets.
So, what do you think? Should I have a romantic novel or a letter I've never opened?
The letter you never opened. Use your description. Those that
That's your
are
paramour.
Wait,
natural-
what? Did you jump ahead on me or something?
No, I'm still inventory.
Oh, you're still. Oh, oh yeah, that's right. I love that part when they were playing the session. Well, my favorite part is Laura Ashley's character. She plays a ribbit, but she plays like a 1 foot tall ribbit, and an old discarded cigarette is her weapon. So when she casts, she like lights the ember of the cigarette and casts off of that. It's so cool. It's so cool. So creative.
One or more from each line will make your own.
What do I recommend? So, what did you mean that like is it like focus or like literally what? Like,
Ooh, what do you?
an example of the songs of the character. Decide what the character. So,
No, whatever. Yeah, literally something you would carry reference of your spells in. A dirty propaganda pamphlet that shows strange funguses taking over fairy insects' minds and causing them to do zombified like things. Yeah, I mean it's the creativity factor. Create it any way that you want. So yeah, you better not be in my
Okay.
corner.
Where do we put this?
Oh,
Don't you flatten your ears at me. Wow, how do we
oh,
get
they give you
Yeah,
suggestions.
yeah.
right?
you-
can
2 hours of
scribble
character
starburst,
creation.
scribble
This is
something
awesome.
in there.
Welcome to me trying to build my sky.
Oh, that's your own level of hell. It's not my level of hell.
Where do we put the character description?
So on the second page, in the upper right-hand corner. So that's page 1. You're holding page 1.
I'm just circling my options.
There's a second page that looks like this. Yes. See that upper right-hand box?
My
Character
skin is the
description.
color
It just
of a
gives you
dish
some
rag.
insights.
Okay.
You can either create your own or use the ones that they give you in the box.
Okay.
And that's to give you ideas, mostly.
Attitude like a guide, a hippie, a dog, a firecracker, or a witch.
Well, because it's such a narrative game, I think they do this in a way to kind of really give you hints and ideas. I think those pre-printed fill-ins are options, but not necessarily what you
It
have to
says or
choose.
make up your own.
Yes.
A guide, a hippie, a dog, a firecracker, or a witch.
So once we're done with step 9, we now begin a very important choice.
Ooh.
Step 10.
Let me finish 9. Let
Where
me
do we
finish
put
9.
in our donation
Yeah, I'm
information?
still looking at some of my other stuff.
Where do we write our donation?
I didn't see the suggestion on the character guide,
I
so
believe that should be.
See ya.
Technically, you don't have to
Cool.
write your domain because they're cards. So you
Round,
round,
short, and round.
short and round. Yeah. That's such an old word. A very old word. No, so there's no place for you to fill in domain because they're cards, and you would cut those cards out and use those associated cards.
I'll see about getting some of those parts.
Please.
Yeah. I'll get the big one. So that kind of-
Rachel probably has a
So
Rachel probably has a
I have clothes that are inconspicuous and drab, eyes like muddy water, a body that's shortish and average, the color of a dish rag.
I love it.
Attitude is deadpan and nonplussed.
I love it. That's
I have-
such a road.
clothes that
Such a
are.
fucking street urchin.
I have clothes that are loose.
Just like that.
Clothes that are loose and camouflage. Eyes like lilac. A body that's lanky. The color of obsidian, and an attitude like I'm going with a fire.
Nice.
Dude, like she's gonna throw poop at you.
All right, Carla, I see you got a smile on your face. Read
my,
up your description.
my clothes are natural and tactical. Eyes like endless oceans. Body that's curvy and toned. With the color of wisteria. With an attitude like a survival.
Love it. That's kind of cool. It kind of gives you a baseline on your narrative a little bit. Gives you a framework to step into. So that's pretty cool. I like that.
Well, because I like wisteria, especially because it's
Purple.
purples and greens
Yeah.
and blues.
Yeah.
And it blends.
Purple. It's like our hat.
Exactly.
Purples, greens, and
Why I
blues.
chose the same color.
I am black with black fur with lilac.
I'm going all purple on this character.
And yet I have
I didn't
blue
go
eyes.
purple. I didn't think purple fur would be good. I didn't think purple fur would be my main.
Joy.
To
Joy.
the dark side.
Would you go with description there, Shiloh?
I'm
Yeah.
still reading them. I didn't see this page, and I was
No.
behind on everything else.
You're reading. She's reading.
Oh, sorry, Carolyn. Go for it. Read your poem, bro.
I was gonna go wild clothing, lilac eyes, but I'm curvy but so tongue. I've got the one very colored because I'm very purple and I have the attitude of a bar.
Oh, yeah, you're going to go Southern accent, aren't you? That's
Oh
be
no,
awesome.
it's probably no record.
So how they can be Mark Twain? I do declare.
I do declare
declare
my fungus is among us. What'd you go, Shiloh, for description?
I'm looking like probably clothes that are clean, eyes like fire, body that's I'd say carved and
said
sapphire of color.
Yeah, and keep in mind,
So
you
I'm
can
not
also
going-
make up your own description as well.
Right. So I'm thinking more, 'cause
Well, and the fun thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take everybody's description and put them into the AI art generator and have it
put a
create
poll
artwork
up.
for us. Yeah, just for giggles, for giggles. It's kind of fun.
And then the attitude, I'm still, I'm thinking it's probably going to be more like a philosopher.
That's awesome.
So I'm going to be like my breath weapon's going to be ice. So I'm going to have ice
Fire.
sapphire
Yeah, I
but
love that.
with red
Yeah.
eyes to just really, kind of like the iridescent,
so cool.
stand out.
Domain deck cards, step 10.
I picked my two. Question. Some are abilities and some are spells. So
Well,
casting a
keep in
spell,
mind-
what do I roll on?
So keep in mind for level 1, right? Let me get there.
Oh, the coverage. Underneath a picture.
All right. So level 1, right?
Mhm.
So at level 1, you've already picked your subclass.
Yep.
And there are 2 domains you can choose from.
Yes.
So for the Seraph, there's Valor domain and Splendor domain. And then you could make 2 choices at level 1?
Is it?
Or is
Yeah,
it
yeah,
1?
2 total. You can pick both from the same, one
Correct.
from each.
Correct.
No, you get to pick 2. I remember that.
I think it says, I should probably read it.
Yeah, it says
So each class is made up of 2 different domains listed below the
Choose
class
2
name
cards.
on the character sheet. Choose 2 cards total from the level 1 cards in those domains from the domain decks. You may share these decks with other classes. If you do, make sure to take with them about what cards they're interested in as well. So up to 2 different domains, choose 2 cards total from the level 1 available cards. So for the Seraph, there are 6 available cards. They're split into 2 domains, Splendor and Valor. So I could do 2 from Splendor and make my choice. I can do 1 from Valor, 1 from Splendor, or I can do 2 from Valor.
So like mine is spelling.
Correct. Those are your 2 domains. And that should be written on the side, the left-hand side of the panel.
When I'll say,
Level 1.
what's the little lightning bolt up in the upper
That
right?
is stress, my friends, when you use these cards. So using your abilities incurs stress. Of course she does.
Not 15 Alpha later on.
Oh, it gets even better than that. So, starting off at early levels, there's only so many cards available to you. So at early levels, you have 2 cards available to you. As you level up, you pick more and more domain cards. You can only ever have a maximum of 5 active domain cards. Anything over that goes into your vault. When you take a long rest, you can switch out your domain cards from your vault. Or if you're in combat, you can switch out your domain cards. Or if you're just in the narrative, you can switch out your domain cards from your vault. Challenge you have is whenever you do that, the lightning bolt kicks in. So whenever you switch out your domain cards from your vault outside of a long rest, which means you can do it whenever you want, it's free as a long rest, but if you do it outside of a long rest, you take that much stress when you do it.
But we also take that stress.
No, it's only for you switch it out of your loadout. Only if it says in the description.
Okay.
Whatever.
Like if you do mending touch, you would lay your hands on a creature, channel magic to close their wounds. Spend 2 hope and heal a hit point or a stress.
Correct.
So that would be my cost.
Correct.
I found a typo.
Oh, I think there've been a number of them. Which type of?
The one in the elf really nice to break it.
Vicious Entangle. Make a spellcast roll against the target within far range. It says 1 a success. Roots and vines reach out from the ground and temporarily restrain them. Healing 1d8 again.
Instead of on a
Instead
success.
of on a
1.
success. 1
Well, like you read just the elf, like I'm trying to figure out how the elf, like as I'm thinking about the elf, I was reading, like, I don't quite understand what they're trying to tell me with that.
What do you mean?
It was just the way it was worded, it was really hard on my brain to understand what they were saying.
Ooh, well, now
So-
I'll read.
Do you have like spell slots or a number that you can use the card, or like
It's
once
your
you
hope.
use
It's your
the card? So
Hope ties into everything. It's one of the reasons why you never really have to worry about not using it, because you're using it almost all the time. And earning hope becomes an economy balance to a certain degree.
Like your hope count is your helping people, and count is your little spells. Or
You
whatever.
spend a hope to give someone a d6 of advantage,
Or give yourself a hint,
or give yourself advantage,
or use one of your abilities.
right? But if you have all your hope banked and you start rolling with hope, that means you can't add any more hope. So you're missing economy opportunity. But at the same rate, if you're a horrible Will Wheaton roller and you're failing and rolling with fear on a regular basis, thank you very much.
So
Yeah, for me, token.
If you've never noticed, I try to build my character as much as I have a huge buffer between me and my roll, because I know my roll is going to be terrible.
Yeah, but your roll is not the same algorithm now.
No.
Your roll is very
You
different.
roll my dice, you saw what?
I'm just saying though, but you can still fail with hope.
Your average roll is going to be 12. And 2d6.
2d12.
You know, 14. It's going to be 14.
Yeah.
Your average roll is going to be
But
14.
the hope fear displacement
Yeah.
is the chaos.
Yeah,
Right? So if you fail with hope, you still get a hope. And maybe you have a special ability that says if you earn a hope during a failure, you get an extra you get an extra hope with it. Right? That's where your domain cards and your loadout of your domain cards really start kicking in by level 3, because now you've reached your maximum number of domains and you're now beginning to build your vault. So this is the part I think that they're trying to appeal to card gamers that like to build the MTG decks, and obviously on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
But if you're familiar with card deck building, this may interest you because it has a little bit of that in it once you get up to the higher levels. Yes.
When you roll double,
Always a critical success.
do you get fear, or do you get hope, or do you get fear?
You get hope.
always get
It's always hope.
Okay.
It clears all your stress, and it's an automatic success to the extreme.
Oh, I just rolled 6s.
Ah,
Roll a 21 with hope. All right. So domains make sense to everybody?
21.
12 and a 9 with hope. Yeah, it can happen. I mean, the
That's-
die roll
that's
becomes a
huge.
lot more.
There's
Significant.
a wide variety.
Yeah.
There, from 2 to 24, basically.
And everybody's going to take their packs home with them. Obviously, yours can stay here. But everyone will take your packs home with you. Cut out your cards, organize it, journal it, put it in a journal, however you want to do. Because we're going to so this Monday we did Daggerheart. Next Monday we do Candela. The following Monday we do Daggerheart. So we're going to do one-offs. We're probably going to do this till the summer. And then starting in the summer, we can either go back to Pike's Promise with D&D, or we can convert Pike's Promise to Daggerheart. I'm going to let you guys make the choice. But I want to
Or
have,
just keep doing this Daggerheart.
or we could just keep doing the Daggerheart. Yeah.
Just come up.
And we just let our people be in limbo and dead.
Well, technically that's a valid ending
Yeah.
because a
We-
couple
we
people,
kinda left
Rachel
it.
and Carolyn stopped was it you and Rachel that did it?
I didn't do it. Well, I might have stopped, but I didn't know what was going on.
So whoever stopped the time traveler, the pilot,
Yeah.
from activating the sphere,
I believe
pretty
that
much
was-
put you guys into permanent limbo if we choose to finalize it that way. But I also had it finalized that way so in case we wanted to convert those characters to Daggerheart, it would explain why you found yourself in a new realm.
Yeah, because I threw a dagger at him.
Yes. And Rachel grabbed him.
I didn't think
I
you threw a
think-
dagger at him. I thought you guys just stopped him.
No, I think you guys just grabbed him.
Okay.
I
Like
don't
you,
think you threw a
you
dagger.
grabbed
I
him.
can't remember.
I think you guys grappled him, which prevented him from finishing the time
From
spell.
going into the bubble.
Yeah, and being the pilot. And then we finished with everything. And then Ivar looking at all of you and cussing. It was awesome.
So how do I do my companion?
All right. Well, we'll do that in session 1.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do that in session 1. Because you can bake that ahead of time in your backstory. So you can choose any companion you want within reason.
Okay.
And then bake it into your backstory how you met. And then we'll play that out in session 1. So step 11, answer your background question. You can either customize it completely or use the existing background questions they have.
Or on page, the second
Second page of your character sheet.
Why was the community you grew up in so reliant on nature and food?
And everyone's questions are unique because it's based on your character, your class.
Was the first spawn you made with a wild animal? Why did it end? I ate.
In your community, thought you would have such confidence in
They tried to eat you?
No, I said I ate them.
Oh, you ate them.
I am never alone.
I got really
The
hungry as a
community is
monkey.
with me at all times.
As a simian, I got really hungry.
A terrible creature hurt your community and you failed to hunt it down. What is it and what unique trait or sign does it leave behind everywhere it goes?
So those don't need to be resolved tonight. Those are things that you have a couple weeks because we don't meet for session 1 for 2 weeks because next week is Candela and then we meet with Daggerheart the following week. So those are obviously you're going to want me to do it. Or you think you could actually do your own background this time? It's
I
pretty.
think you can help me.
Who in your community thought you'd have such confidence in yourself? I am the community. I'm never alone.
You're a fungus.
There's so much fungus among us that I am a community of like-minded souls.
I cannot not have any confidence in myself.
We will skip the map part tonight because I want to spend a little time on that. So let's jump to 12. Generate experience because this is important, and I believe they give you some examples. No, they don't. It's connections.
That's
So-
interesting one.
So experience is very open-ended. It's narrative. It's super creative at this point because you've already made all your decisions, including your backstory decision at this point. So generating your unique experience can wait until after you're done with your backstory. Because let's say something in your backstory would influence an experience. So the only thing set in stone is that you get 2 experiences. Your first experience is a +2. And then your subsequent experience is a +1. So you want to customize that experience in such a way that it matches the flavor of your character build. So whenever you're fighting amongst cliffs and peaks, you're nimble-footed. It gives you a +1 on agility.
Yeah,
rolls,
it's part of
right?
the original.
So that gives you a limited area of effect that it comes into play. You get +2 on your agility roll because that experience is a +2. So you would say, because I was raised in the ridge-borne heights of peaks and cliffs, whenever I'm in those peaks and cliffs, I get a +2 to my agility.
+2. So whenever I'm trying to interact with somebody, get them
Influence or interact is pretty open-ended.
like a people user. It's like whenever that might come in.
So whenever you're trying to sway them to your
Side.
needs, yeah, I love that.
Where would we put the things on our ancestry, for example, that say nimble, take advantage on agility rolls that involve balancing and climbing, and add +1 to your evasion? So
It's
where
a
would
card,
we
you
put-
cut it out.
Yeah, cut the card out and keep it
Yeah.
in your deck.
So your class card, you cut out.
So we don't
Yeah.
put that. we
Your
can't put that
subclass
someplace-
card, you cut it out.
Your deck is going to be
Yeah.
based of all these,
I know, but we don't put that somewhere on our.
Because you have your deck.
because you have the card right in front of you. Because you can set your card in front of you while you're playing and remind you. Hey, I did that.
Look at her face.
You know what? Just on your tablet, you'll make a little highlighted thing that
I'm trying to do it
stands
on
out.
paper, not on my tablet.
So for my experience, I took esoteric useless knowledge +1. So I know
Oh, you
a lot
ripped her
about
1,000 just to have a good experience. Can I eat them? That's a good idea of a like a +1 experience. I
That would
think.
be a lot.
Yeah.
That's with the was it Delicious Dungeon or something?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, that's good.
I'd take it. I'll take it.
Can I eat
I
them?
think we're
Yeah,
like
go for it. I love it.
Not
But it's also a good example of a short description of an experience that has a narrow focus, right? It's not like she's going to be able to use that experience in combat unless she's combating a swarm of beetles and she goes, I'm going to spend my 2 hope. I'm going to start eating beetles.
Oh, it doesn't have to be just beetles. Beasts,
Well, I mean,
maybe
can you
other
eat?
humanoids? Can I eat them?
But what trait do you like? How would it benefit? Like, so can I eat them?
I'm gonna go with biology or anatomy. Can I eat them?
So knowledge, give you your modifier to knowledge. Is it going to be your +2 choice or your +1 choice?
+1.
So that would give you +1 to knowledge. Whenever can I eat them? Now I'm also wondering, could the plus just be a generic modifier if the situation arises with
Kind of like
experience?
that. Rather than
Right?
I think that's how they're supposed to be. Like you have to
Yeah.
with the GM.
Yeah,
It's-
because
it's a-
maybe
it's a
the
catch-all to get you to
declaration of a
role-play.
trait is too focused. So can I eat them? Right. So let's say you're in a
I was
tavern.
going with that, what was the first one you made with a wild animal and why did it end? I ate them.
And let's say you use your experience, you spend the 2 hope and use that experience for the +1 modifier.
Mhm.
You're spending that hope, and that +1 is because you've already stated how to beat that DC. So like maybe you're trying to intimidate somebody, right?
Right.
And you kind of slide that into your narrative with the NPC.
What happened to your
How
friend?
tasty are you?
Yeah, and I'm already having you
What do you
roll for presence, let's say.
Okay.
Now that +1 would be added to your roll.
Presents I picked -1.
But there you go, though. That would balance it out.
Balance it out.
Yeah,
Okay.
it would balance it out.
Yeah.
So if that was the circumstance that came up in, that's a good catch. Thank you. That's a good catch.
My fun little scores are just making people around me feel so good. I'm such a
They make you just
Or-
lay down and go.
Or one of your experiences could be that when you get excited, it lets off a hallucinogenics off of your body,
I was like, I like that.
And that could be your +2. So like whenever your character gets overly excited, you get that bonus, right?
Ooh, or like.
But
in the-
there's
wait.
cost.
You get so excited.
or like in the one episode of.
Shiloh, you okay?
I'm thinking on other.
I love your thinking face, dude. It is
That's
predominantly terrifying. It's almost. This is the longest you've ever stayed awake.
Do you remember there was an episode of oh god, I can't think of the name of it right now, with Scully and Mulder.
X-Files.
X-Files, yeah. There was where the trees were releasing a fungus.
There's a movie about that too. Yeah.
Popped out of
M.
that
Night Shyamalan did a movie about that. Yeah.
where the fungus actually kills the people.
So obviously, record your name and pronoun. Put in there whatever you'd like. It. You're gonna be it. I love it. Yeah, be it. I love it. Yeah. Is that gonna be your name or your pronoun? I love it. You can be it.
Or mine. And mine was
Oh, I love it.
I
Yeah.
get the type of mushroom.
Yeah,
Like,
Mataki.
Yeah.
Oh, you should be shiitake.
I don't want
Too close to shit.
That's all
Mine's-
it's short for mine.
What are you gonna go with your name?
Oh, I haven't decided.
Okay.
yet.
No worries.
I was saying she could be Lion's Mane.
Now, this is the other fun part that kind of leads us into the idea that this is pretty much a co-op game, right? Create connections. So it allows you, if you look at page 2, there's some sample connections in reference. This is how you might know each other. So maybe Maitaki knows Callista's character. What would that connection be?
Well, she's a wild girl and I'm a wanderer.
You might know each other that way. So this is designed to supplement the fact
So
that
I know
you kind of know each other already, and knowing each other is that starting point. D&D and other games tend to allow you to start individually, and it becomes the DM's prerogative to figure out how you connect with each other. This game definitely emphasizes co-op from that perspective.
Because
You can still be a shadowy knave,
yeah.
creepy friend through connections, but because you know each other, it does make it a little bit easier for the GM to start the session 1
Yeah.
in a very combined narrative way.
We're
I see a
both
typo on this one, too.
Wildborn.
Is there?
Yeah, it's one of my background questions is also my connections. Who from that other life were you most sad to say
Yes,
goodbye
that's come
to?
up before. Yeah, that I think that one's already been recorded on the survey. Like, don't eat me.
Chris and I are both Wildborn, but it even says in the description there's many plants.
Correct. So creating connections is important because it also helps us create the world. So your backstory, your connections, and your community are how the world's going to be defined. So the map is blank. There's regions, there's wilds, there's place names that are very grandiose and perspective.
Can we make up our own?
But if you guys make connections, and through that connection, you determine you come from the same treetop city, let me know what that treetop city name is. I'll include it in the campaign as part of the atlas of the world. The world is split up into 3 realms: those above, those below, and then the mortal realm. So I believe it's divinity is those above, the circles below, the evil of the world, and then the mortal realm is where you exist. These are unending lands, unending worlds. So these things don't need to define the play, because the play is the scope of the session that we're having, right? So if you and the Dracona have a connection in the high ridges or high cliffs of a cliff dwelling city, and you guys come up with a name for it, I add that to the atlas. It comes into play. And then my creativity kicks in, and I could say, oh, yeah, I'm going to create a mountainous region of the world that you're in with lots of connections and cities and towns and things. So it's beta, so there's not a lot of content for us to play with. There is some regional content that I can use. But it, it doesn't need to be overbearing. It's an opportunity for your backstory, your connections, and your community and ancestry to help build the world together. And then I take those commonalities and put them in the world atlas in such a way that I then get to flush things out, but it's based on the world that you start with. And that's called the Mortal Realm. Now, when the final release comes, could there be a shit ton of world content? Could be, don't know. But for now, we're running with the homebrew because we just don't have a lot of content.
That's more fun.
It does give us a potential campaign to use, but I'm not going to use it for that. I'm going to let your connections, your backstory, your community, and your ancestry provide some determination, and then the rest will flush out. Cool?
I'm gonna go with Onyx
Onyx, that's your name?
because she's obsidian colored.
Love it.
I'm gonna go with Onyx.
Love that.
I'm kind of debating between Nyx and Quill.
Ooh, I like Quill. Quill's pretty cool.
Mhm.
What's your ancestry again?
I-
Giant?
Giant.
Do you like Nyx? Nyx, there's a couple players that have used that name before.
Mhm.
It's a cool name. What'd you go for name-wise?
Ash.
Ooh, I love
Ashley Williams.
it. Yeah, Ash.
For when I get a chainsaw arm later.
Yeah. I love it.
I'm going with Onyx Darkling.
Ooh, Onyx Darkling. I love it.
Darkling duck.
Darkling.
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 Stupid mycelium.
Well, I put
Damn
zero-
single-cell
I
organisms.
just put zero.
That makes sense.
That just means you don't have a bonus.
So we will learn by doing.
Hmm.
So when we kick off the campaign in 2 weeks with session 1, I will take your backstories, your connections, and bind those together. We'll do our typical start where you kind of introduce your character and let them know what they look like and some background, and then I'll kick off the world narrative like I normally do, and we'll session 1 in 2 weeks. Cut out your cards, create your journals, create however you want to represent your character at the table. However, at the end of each session we're going to do, so like I've already got a ton of feedback ideas, so I'll probably do a survey tomorrow on the character creation stuff. We don't really have enough time to do a combat round sample or demo, but I think learning by doing when we actually play and run into our first combat round might be a lot more helpful for the learning curve.
Well, this will give you a chance to digest it.
But lots of things to digest,
Can
lots
we,
of things to organize.
can we build alts?
If you want
Bring
to,
in-
feel free.
Pop out.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, build alternate characters if you want to.
Awesome.
Daggerheart.com. You can download as many forms as you want for free. You can go to
Jason.
Demiplane and do it all digitally if you want, and then print out those digital outcomes, which I think is what you did, correct? That one
Yeah.
that you gave me.
I like
So
that
yeah,
idea.
I will build the Daggerheart channel tomorrow. I will post all the links and information there, including extra docs if people need the extra documents. I will make it a public channel because I want us to share how we're playing and how we're doing it. And then after each session, we'll take 5 minutes at the end of the session, talk about the session, so we can create a feedback loop for the surveys.
That's in 2, right?
That's in 2 weeks. Next week is Obscura, chapter 4, I believe. Next week for Obscura. And then the following week will be our session 1 of Daggerheart. And I'll come up with a campaign name as well. Hi, my son. Where are you going?
How about Mall Butt?
Mall what?
Mall Butt. Daggerheart and Mall Butt.
No, you need
No,
to stop and
okay.
just put your phone down.
Okay.
Hey, everyone. Thank you for coming out and hanging out with us. We will be back with Daggerheart in 2 weeks. Next week is Candela Obscura, Chapter 4, Secret of the Dark Shadow. And then tomorrow, Shattered Kingdom. We should be back tomorrow. As far as we know, we had some complications. 2 players went on vacation, and when they came back, they had a challenge with their animal that took up their day. So we should have Kyle and his wife back tomorrow for Shattered Kingdom. And you
First
can always
time for-
catch us on Sundays Fool's Errand at 4 o'clock specific time. My family got reference. Be safe, be kind, and don't forget, everybody.
Play.
Did you hear what happened to the cat? Is it okay?
I didn't hear.
I was
We
asking.
can ask her tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, assuming it's Kyle that put anything in.